Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. One Piece. Opening 9 Tales Bombards Mariejois. Chapter 61. Wounded, exhausted. As soon as Shiki entered the arena, he started a fierce fight with Kraken and Roger, and then fought with Garp and Kraken for several hours. During this period, it is unknown how many injuries he suffered and how much energy was consumed. Also, he expended the most energy when he launched the lure against Kraken at the end. After that, he was punched by Toyulu again, and managed to escape. Shiki leaned against a big tree, panting for breath. Then, black shadows enveloped the island, and a person appeared in front of him. The man was tall, wearing a black suit, but with a blue mask on his face, making his face hard to see. Thor. Shiki gritted his teeth and said the name of the person who came. He knew who this person was. That's right. It was the Thor who appeared when he snatched the piece of jade of the 4 souls in Zephyr's hand. It's still smart not to escape to your main island, but even if you found an island in the vast sea to recuperate your wounds, you still can't escape our pursuit. Standing in front of Golden Lion, Thor said calmly. You guys, Shiki said weakly, you've been talking about you since the first time we met, right? Let me know, who are you? Do you want to delay time to recover your strength? Lei Shen chuckled, making Shiki's face a little ugly. But he didn't pay much attention, because Shiki can't escape. Black Order, you should have heard of this new organization, right? This is an organization set up by the world government to deal with demons and monsters. Lei Shen said, but sometimes, it will also target you pirates. Take action. A person like you will become a lackey of the world government. Shiki said to him when we first met, and now I can't help saying it again, if the two of us join forces, even the world can be conquered. Thor just looked at Thor through the mask without saying a word, and Shiki just looked at Thor like this, waiting for the opportunity to recover his strength. After all, he got 2 pieces of jade of 4 souls. The jade fragments of the 4 souls have been integrated into his body by him, and he is rapidly recovering his injuries and physical strength. In just a little more time, he will have enough strength to fight back. But Thunder God didn't react at all, and didn't reveal any flaws, as if he didn't care about Golden Lion's use of the jade fragments of the 4 souls to restore his strength, nor did he care about his previous provocation. How could a person with Conqueror's Haki react like this? Why don't you do it? However, this eerie silence didn't last long, because Shiki felt a danger approaching, and this danger even made him feel creepy, as if using the jade of the 4 souls to restore power wasted here. On the contrary, it is a fatal crisis. He said to Thor, what are you waiting for? Lei Shen slowly turned his body sideways, and said softly, it's already here. Shiki looked forward, his pupils trembled, because he only saw a woman with orange-pink mid-length hair, wearing trousers, a white shirt, and a black bow tie appeared in sight, with her hands behind her back, approaching step by step. Are you the one Thor is waiting for? Shiki asked. Mazima didn't speak, but at the same time, a sword of thunder appeared in Thor's hand. The huge thunder and lightning power mixed with Haki gathered together, and the formed sword seemed to be shrinking continuously amidst the brilliance. Feel. He respectfully handed out the sword, and Mazima took it when she walked to him. Don't think you can kill me easily. Shiki growled, lousy as a golden lion. Boom. His eyes widened, and the Conqueror's Haki was released with a bang. As long as the two of them hesitated for a moment, Shiki would use his last remaining strength to leave here. He knew that with his current state, he would definitely not be able to defeat Thor, and that Makima had the power to make Thor bow down. It would be unwise to launch an attack before knowing her details, so the only option was to run away. However, Makima only looked at Shiki with a smiling expression, which looked very kind to others, but in Shiki's eyes, it turned out to be extremely terrifying, and the next moment, the pressure that seemed to suffocate him also hit him. Boom! A kind of crimson Haki was released from Makima's body, and the whole sky was rendered blood red in the blink of an eye. In such a world, Shiki's eyes widened, looking at Makima in front of him. He felt that she was the incomparable horror, even gave birth to a kind of surrender. Lousy. Shiki gritted his teeth for a moment. The blade in his hand stabbed himself instead of Makima. The severe pain made him recover. A burst of fear rose in his heart. Just now, I actually felt like I was being manipulated. Don't think you can dominate me. Lousy as Golden Lion Shiki. Shiki bit his tongue hard, but the next moment, he found his body. His upper body was cut open by the thunder sword created by Thor the moment Makima released the dominant color Haki just now. At this time, his upper body was completely separated from his lower body, and he fell beside him, so he could seeing his complete lower body from his own eyes. Shiki wanted to say something, but he didn't have the strength to continue, he already dead. At the last glance, he could only see the masked Thor still standing beside Makima, and Makima had put her hands on her back again, as if the joy and achievement of killing a big pirate had never been there, as if the executioner routinely cut off the prisoner's head, without any fluctuation in the eyes. Shiki is dead. The pirate Admiral Golden Lion, who was supposed to compete with Roger and Whitebeard for the supremacy of the sea in the next few decades, died on such an unnamed island. He'd never have another chance to make his name as the Golden Lion, or to corner Roger in a corner, because corpses wouldn't do anything. Even if you do. Also in other identities. Like now, the body that Makima had killed had been reassembled and stood up almost intact, except that he wouldn't be Shiki anymore either. After being killed by Majima, he has lost the power to resist Majima's domination, so he can only become her puppet just like the rocks in the past. It's almost. However, after seeing the Golden Lion standing up again, Makima said slightly regretfully. Absorbed the fear of domination from the people of the whole world, signed a contract with the world government, and absorbed the fear of people for her again after the establishment of the Black Order. Her strength is already very strong, and the power of domination is even enough to influence the Golden Lion under serious injury. But it's not that she feels sorry for it, but that she almost. You will be able to control the power of lion fruit that overflows when the Golden Lion dies. The thunder sword in his hand is slowly dissipating. This weapon made by Thor is not inferior to the famous sword among pirates. And in front of him is the Golden Lion Shiki, who has been dominated by him. She wasn't surprised that she couldn't forcibly dominate an expert of this level, but when Shiki died, the lion fruit on his body was also seen by Makima during his separation. Makima originally wanted to dominate the devil fruit, but it almost ran away. But, never mind, she is in a high position now. At worst, use the power of the Black Order to find a devil fruit for the current Shiki. If devil fruit's ability is still there, he can continue to survive in the sea with his original identity, but since there is no devil fruit, there is no need for that. Next, Shiki will, like Thor, abandon his past name and put on a mask to become Makima's loyal puppet. Wait until you have the ability to change your appearance, and then take off the mask to survive. And Shiki's blonde hair is too conspicuous now. But for a puppet, there is no such thing as loyalty or disloyalty. The next sea will definitely be much quieter. Makima turned around and looked at the sea and sky in the distance. The reason she was able to find Shiki's foothold so quickly was also because of her dominance. Not to mention such a small range, even if it is 10 times or 100 times bigger, Shiki cannot escape her sight. Mazima has the ability to listen to other people's speech from an ultra-long distance. In the chainsaw world, he even listens across the distance of several countries. Even for powerful demon hunters and demons, when they speak, they have to write the content on paper to prevent Mazima from listening in on them. Shiki didn't know that Makima had such abilities, so it was a matter of course that she was caught. Makima took back the 2 fragments of the Jade of the Four Souls from Vice Admiral, and then Sub-Air Miasma appeared behind her, and she slowly disappeared on the island. And the moment Golden Lion Shiki died. On the previous battlefield, Roger and Garp Zephyr were still facing each other. When they broke through the clouds, both Shiki and Tuyuro had disappeared. At this moment, both of them were almost exhausted. Garp and Zephyr wanted to take Roger at this time, but Roger's ship had already sailed. Come over. After seeing Rayleigh and Jabba, Garp and Zephyr looked at each other, knowing that it would be difficult to catch them. Marine's fleet has been destroyed, so we can't keep using Moonwalk to pursue it, it will be exhausting. He didn't get the jade fragments of the Four Souls, and he didn't catch the Golden Lion. Instead, his own fleet sank, but Kraken was finally killed. Although Sora and the people above would certainly not be unhappy, Garp felt pretty good about it. It's a pity that Shiki should have snatched the fragment. Roger, who returned to the boat, said with some regret. This is also the regret in the hearts of Garp and Zephyr. In fact, if they had to choose, they would rather have the fragment taken away by Roger. Shiki is too ambitious. And just when they were feeling a little emotional, they suddenly saw the island in the sky. The base of Shiki, the huge island that he brought to the sky with lion fruit, suddenly seemed to lose the power to maintain its existence, suddenly fell from the sky. Quote. There were also some of Shiki's subordinates present. Some of them were struggling on the sea and some were still on the main island, and all of them were wide-eyed at this moment, because the huge island suddenly fell from the sky. Even Roger and Marine were shocked, because if such a huge island falls down, it will probably generate huge waves. It is Shiki's lair on it. What happened to make him abandon his base? Is it because after getting the jade fragments of the Four Souls, I think that this old hometown is no longer needed? And in the next moment, they were all shocked. Because on the fallen island, a man's loud voice suddenly came out. Admiral Shiki. Admiral Shiki, his life card has been reduced to ashes. Boom. The island sank into the sea and set off a huge wave, but this kind of huge wave was far less shocking than the huge wave in the hearts of the people in this sea area at the moment. Shiki, life card turned into ashes. When was the last time you heard this statement? Roger glanced at Garp and realized that Garp was looking at him too. The last time this happened, they were there, that was the Battle of the Canyon of Gods, when Rox was completely dead. The whole island was also spreading the word, Captain Rox, life card was burned out. Ah, such words. How long has it been? In just a few months, another strong man from the sea died. Although Shiki has appeared as a subordinate of Rox for a long time in the past, no one will doubt his strength. After leaving the Rox ship, their strength, whose nature has been liberated, has strengthened again. However, before he created a career, he had already died in this sea. Shiki. Roger deeply recited the name of the enemy not long ago. Although they were enemies, they were evenly matched. They both recognized each other. Not long ago, they were still fighting fiercely, and it was only a few minutes before they separated. Is he already dead? Who is it? Who did it? It's such a sneak attack. It's really disgusting. Roger roared angrily on the boat at this moment, and even the clouds in the sky were scattered by him. Shiki just went through a big battle. How much power was consumed, only Roger, who was also traumatized, knows. If it wasn't for the consumption of so much power, how could Shiki die so silently? His knowledge was covered, but he found nothing. That's enough, Roger. Rayleigh, standing behind Roger, cut him off. Rayleigh looked into the distance, and said softly, the enemy has the ability to quickly kill a seriously injured Shiki. Don't you think your current state is much better than Shiki's? Although there are many people on their side, they are all injured and exhausted. The only one who still has the strength to fight is Jabba. There will be heavy casualties. Come anyway, Roger said loudly, a man on the sea shouldn't die like this. A man like Shiki should have a farther journey. Yeah, but that's the horror of the sea. Rayleigh, as the deputy captain, sometimes has to stop Roger. At this moment, he looked at the endless sea and said softly, no matter what kind of lofty ambitions you have and how powerful you are, you will face death at any time on the way to conquer the sea. Never think that your strength can overwhelm this sea. If you are angry, keep getting stronger. Quote, as long as you are strong enough, the sea cannot easily abandon you. Roger didn't say anything more. In fact, he didn't really like the kind of becoming stronger for the purpose, which was too unfree. If he insists on pursuing power, Roger can choose to eat a devil fruit that matches his fighting style, but he still chooses to rule the sea with his own hockey. He now has the jade fragment of 4 souls in his hand. Although there is only one piece, it is very weak for a person like him to improve his strength, but no matter how weak it is, it can be regarded as an improvement, and he will gain a certain regeneration ability. It's just that Roger hadn't had much interest in using that fragment before. He was more interested in collecting the jade of 4 souls than in using them, but at this moment Rayleigh's words moved him slightly. What he is after is absolute freedom. In this sea, stronger power is needed to pursue greater freedom. Maybe he has to make some changes. Let's go, continue to move towards the end of the sea. Roger turned his head and said, hey Rayleigh, you said to use these 4 soul jade fragments to inlay on the ace, what will happen? Ace is the supreme 12 swordsman. After using the jade fragments of the 4 souls, he will definitely become even more remarkable. Rayleigh said, the world, is about to change. In the past, their strength stood at the top of the world, but now the world seems to be entering a new process. Will they, who were strong in the past, continue to be strong in the new era? Past ramblings. It should also be collected. Thinking this way, they moved further and further away under the gaze of Garp and Zephyr, and soon completely sank into the end of the sea, disappearing without a trace. Garp and Zephyr also had some emotions in their hearts. The successive deaths of Rox and Shaki were not only a stimulus to the pirates, but also to their marines. At this moment, the sea area is full of mess, and there are bloody water floating on the sea surface that has spread for an unknown distance. There are still many flesh and blood residues of giant beasts on the sea surface, which makes people feel extremely scared after seeing it. The two of them were in the center of the sea of blood. Their bodies were in tatters and there was a lot of blood flowing down from them. They looked like demons devouring people. They didn't wait long, and when Marine's follow-up fleet came over, they were also taken aback when they saw these two people, and almost treated them as demons and monsters. Afterwards, what happened here quickly spread to the entire world. The ultra-huge destroying beast, Kraken, was killed in New World by Marine hero Garp and Admiral Zephyr. Following Rox, the great pirate Golden Lion Shaki was also executed by the Black Order. The end of the thief is coming. Single quote. Newspapers with this title sold like crazy all over the world. People from all over the world cheered, but the pirates who went to sea were as cold as cicadas. No one would have imagined that within a period of time New World would have the death of great pirates one after another, and the monster Kraken, which completely exaggerated its own power, and under the fire of Marine, in the end, whether it was this giant beast was still a big pirate, and all of them were buried in the sea. Marine's news always falsifies the facts like this. It is obvious that Shaki Roger also contributed a lot, but the newspaper did not say a word of their credit. With the circulation of the newspaper's news, the prestige lost by the world government due to the Nine-Tails demon fox bombarding Mariejois was quickly regained in this short period of time. And under the deterrence of the powerful forces of Marine and the Black Order, Rox and Shaki reached a new height with their own lives. During this day, I don't know how many people who were planning to go to sea to become pirates chose to shrink back after seeing this news. They were shocked by the powerful power of the world government, and even the great pirates of New World were also shocked after seeing this news. Incomparably shocked. Shaki, dead. For example, in another sea area of New World at this moment, Whitebeard Edward Newgate, who is currently forming his own pirate group, is seeing the reports published in the news on his ship. He doesn't know what that Kraken is. Although he has seen a few reports before, he has never seen it with his own eyes after all. However, he knows Shaki very well. When he was in the Rox Pirate, he was the second in command, and Shaki was the third in command. The strength of the two of them is almost the same, and they also integrated a large number of crew members from the original Rox Pirate to form the Flying Pirates. Such a Shaki is actually dead. Whitebeard was speechless for a long time. He slowly took out a bottle of wine, drank half of it in one gulp, then walked slowly to the periphery, looked at the endless ocean, and poured the wine down slowly. The gurgling wine spilled into the sea, and Whitebeard threw the jug forcefully again, barely paying homage to this past friend. His relationship with Shaki wasn't exactly that great, but they were partners on the same ship for a long time in the past, and at least he felt more emotional about his death than seeing Captain Rox die. The Black Order, it's a big move as soon as you appear on the stage, but do you really have the ability to represent the world government to conquer this sea? The moment Whitebeard turned around, he punched back with his fist, and immediately a huge shock blasted out, and the sea boiled and rolled up waves. The Black Order, this organization was born with the blood of a great pirate as a sacrifice, but it is not enough to overwhelm New World with this kind of violence. Whitebeard has no intention of fighting against the world government, he only wants to find his own happiness, but if he wants to deal with him like Shaki, Whitebeard will definitely let them see his strength. He is not the only one who has this kind of idea, the pirates in the whole New World are carrying this kind of idea and marching towards the front of the sea again. New World, Egg of Lilith, headquarters of the Black Order. At the end of the island, Makima stood on the edge of the cliff, looked at the turbulent ocean below, and said softly, "Mr. Sengoku is here, is there something to report?" Behind her, Sengoku came slowly. Wearing Marine Admiral's coat of justice, he looked at Mazima's face with some fear in his heart. He already knew what happened on that see-through Garp and Zephyr, and he also knew what state Shiki was in at that time. But no matter what kind of Shiki is killed, it can show the strength of Makima's side. Shiki is not a stupid person. Even if he is seriously injured, it may not be impossible to escape if he wants to. At least those of them will have a hard time chasing the seriously injured Shiki who has lion fruit, not to mention he also got the 4-soul jade that can enhance his strength. Yet he died anyway, and not so long after leaving. The news of Shiki's death has been received by 5 elders. Sengoku came here from naval headquarters specially to convey the meaning of 5 elders. After all, Makima would not carry a phone bug with her when she was outside. Therefore, Sengoku had already started waiting at the headquarters of the Black Order, and he had already found Makima as soon as he came back. Shiki is dead, and our contract has been formally signed. Makima said, the Black Order needs a lot of support from you, Marine, in its initial stage. You're joking. With a powerful partner like Thor, the Black Order can become an indispensable part of the world government as long as it develops normally. Sengoku said, I came here, in addition to asking what the Black Order needs during its establishment, I am also asking on behalf of the 5 elders. Inquiry. Makima turned around slowly, looked at Sengoku, and the two looked at each other. Kraken should have 4 fragments of the Jade of the 4 Souls, and now the fragments. Sengoku said softly, should it fall on Miss Makima? ... Makima chuckled. She walked forward slowly, getting closer and closer to Sengoku, and finally passed by. Golden Lion was buried in the belly of a fish. I haven't even been able to get his body. How can I get the jade fragments of the 4 souls on him? That's not a statement I can accept. Sengoku frowned. No need, Mazima said behind him. Unnecessary. At this moment, the two of them had their backs to each other. One was looking at the sea and the other was looking at the island. A strange atmosphere seemed to be created between the two of them. During such a confrontation, Mazima said, only a few days after the negotiation ended, the world government seems to have forgotten that the Black Order does not need to give the world government an acceptable statement. She took another step and walked towards the depths of the island. What's more, I don't need to lie to you. The Jade of the 4 Souls is a precious thing in your eyes, but I never need that kind of thing. Her voice became weaker and her figure became more and more indistinct, until finally only one sentence reached Sengoku's ears. I can hand over 1 piece of Jade of the 4 Souls to the world government, and naturally I don't care about 2 pieces or 3 pieces. However, if there are some things that I don't deserve, I have to force them, and that often leads to bad results. Sengoku did not speak. As Marine Admiral, he will not get involved with politics. What happened here, just need to convey the original words to 5 elders. But it doesn't mean that he doesn't have any views on this incident. At least for now Sengoku still insists on his own view, that is, the world government shouldn't cooperate with Makima to establish any Black Order. Even though she did what their Marine didn't do, kill the Golden Lion Shiki, and may help Marine do more things in the future, but an organization with a high degree of freedom develops under the banner of the world government, at that time, it might be a threat far surpassing that of the big pirate. However, he is a soldier, and political affairs are the affairs of the 5 elders. As far as rights are concerned, he has no right to interfere in these matters. Perhaps he barely has the right to change the status quo when he becomes a marshal. Sengoku glanced at the headquarters of the Black Order, and left slowly. Naval headquarters is the place where he should stay. This new world island is so depressing. Next, the world seemed to have suddenly fallen into a kind of silence. Although it was said that there were still constant killings and all kinds of wars, there was no news that could affect the world situation. Whether it was the initial bombardment of Mariejois by 9 tails, the death of Rox and the emergence of the Jade of 4 Souls, the emergence of the 4th largest institution of the world government, the Black Order, or the deaths of Kraken and Shiki, everything is different. Happened within half a year. It will be 1485 in the Haiyuan calendar soon, and during this period of time, people's tense nerves have finally relaxed a lot, as if they have returned to the old daily life. However, news of the jade fragments of the 4 souls appeared from time to time, still stimulating the nerves of these big pirates, letting them know that a change had taken place in this world. Towards the end of the year, Genichi, who is stirring up the world situation, looks at his emotional value amount again. He didn't do anything during this period of time, and he kept stirring up the nerves of the whole world, which might make them fall into numbness. For things like big events, it's better to do it step by step, and he has a lot of time. Positive sentiment value. Negative sentiment value. This is the current emotional value that appears in Genichi's eyes. After such a long period of development, his positive emotional value has successfully broken through the million mark, and his negative emotional value has also reached a full 7 million degree. Up to now, the growth of these two values has become very slow. It seems that people have passed the stage of providing emotional value for the things he created in the past. So, let's prepare for the next step. It's not that he's going to draw character cards again now. After all, he has already reached more than 7 million, and he is almost able to draw cards at the tens of millions level. He doesn't want to draw character cards at this time. Although it is said that if you are unlucky in drawing cards at the tens of millions level, it will not be much different from the upper limit of the million level, but if you reach the upper limit, you may be able to directly draw characters beyond the 4 emperors level. Therefore, what he wants to do is to draw cards from props. After all, the positive emotion value is only more than 1 million, which belongs to the fact that he has just broken through the million mark, so he can use it when he uses it. And he has never drawn a million level props before. He found that the value of positive emotions has been increasing very slowly. It seems that it is still very difficult to get people's positive emotional outbursts, but he hasn't done many good things. Although the celestial dragons were defeated and the big pirates were eliminated, it did make people feel happy for a while, but it couldn't make them feel their own happiness in person. What's more, it is much more difficult to make people grateful than to make people resentful. Maybe he can get a king's waistcoat in the future. If you work hard, you should get a lot of positive emotion points, right? Should we continue to draw Doraemon's props, or draw new props? Genichi got Doraemon's human creation machine before, and can increase the probability of getting the props in Doraemon's treasure bag by touching that prop. Of course, this is not 100%. After all, the human manufacturing machine itself appeared when he held the jade fragments of the 4 souls to increase the probability, but so far, there is only this one mistake. If you can draw out the more powerful props in the Doraemon world, even the million level props can have a great effect, but it is the first million level props to draw cards. He is thinking that maybe he can pull out some powerful props from other worlds. After thinking about it for a while, Genichi felt that it would be safer to draw Doraemon's treasure bag directly. He was mainly greedy for the powerful props in it that involved causality, time and space. Thinking of this, he has already touched the human manufacturing machine and started drawing cards for props. Superpower Training Box. From the world of Doraemon, as long as you stare at it for 3 hours a day and train for 3 years, you will become a powerful superpower user with 3 powers: telekinetic power, perspective power and teleportation power. Note: the strength of the superpower is related to the trainer's own aptitude. The more suitable the superpower is, the stronger the superpower will be after training. Touching the superpower training box when drawing a card can increase the probability of drawing items in Doraemon's treasure bag. Question mark exclamation mark. After the card drawing was completed, a small round box appeared in Genichi's hands, and then the usefulness of this superpower training box appeared in his mind. Psychic power refers to the power that can move objects out of thin air, and perspective can make people see through obstacles, and teleportation is to make objects appear in another place. Touching the human-made machine to increase the probability is still very high, and pulled out a prop from the world of Doraemon, although it is not the kind of causal time sky's path prop that he wants most. But after all, it is a million level card draw, and it is already very good to have this level. In the world of Doraemon, of course, it has not shown all the power that people have after the training is completed, but since it appears as a million level item card, it means that it cannot surpass the rules of the pirate world. But even so, he was very happy. Doesn't this mean that he can mass produce an army? And it's not like the army of aliens produced by the human manufacturing machine he obtained before. The people created by Genichi cannot provide him with emotional value, but the superpowers trained by this superpower training box do not have this limitation. And those aliens will definitely be able to make their superpowers even stronger through the superpower training box. After this period of growth, those alien babies that were created in the first place have grown a lot. Although they have not yet reached the image of adults, they are about 7 or 8 years old. Their strength naturally increases with age, but the practice of hockey is not very satisfactory. Their mental power itself became stronger as they grew up. At first, it was like the flame breath of a devil dragon, but now it is as strong as the Tathagata palm when a Shing first appeared on the stage. Even a house can be destroyed. In the previous war, Zero was used as an alien, but Genichi stuffed him with 4 soul jade fragments to make him grow a lot earlier. It's just, there is only one superpower training box, and each training session requires 3 hours of concentration. If all 3 abilities are trained, wouldn't it take 9 hours? That's too long. Although the ability is also very powerful, Genichi found that these props are often higher than the upper limit of characters of the same level. For example, a human manufacturing machine can mass-produce characters with a negative emotional value of 100,000. After growing up, they may be able to exceed the level of 100,000. And the upper limit of the superpower training box, will it be a strong person with a level of tens of millions? The tens of millions level is basically an interval of the royal team's deputy, the powerful Shichibukai, Marine Admiral, 4 emperors, and even higher levels. Anyway, as long as there are very powerful characters that are not beyond the limit of this world, they can be counted as tens of millions of character cards. And the introduction of this item itself also said that the upper limit of training is related to aptitude, so people with very good aptitude may really be able to reach the world's top strength. Those aliens produced by human manufacturing machines have superpowers themselves, and they may have a high degree of fit with the superpower training box. Genichi can't help but start to imagine how far these people can reach. The superpower training box is indeed a very good prop, but it is not a prop that he can use now. If you want to gain strength from it, you need 3 years of training. Although it can be effective in 3 years, it is not necessary. Therefore, he decided to draw 3 more cards, 3 times at the level of 100,000, just to consume the current positive emotional value. Because it is at the level of 100,000, he can be willful. After all, the growth of emotional value will slow down after reaching 1 million, and the growth of 1 million is still fast. Therefore, the first choice is Doraemon props, and the second time is free to play. Snack grass seeds. From the world of Doraemon, you can grow pasture for snack food. You need the same 2 kinds of food to eat the pasture, and then the snack will become a living activity like a cow and other animals. They will reproduce the next generation and grow up, but they need to eat continuously, and if they don't eat for more than an hour, they will return to the original dim sum and cannot turn back into animals. When drawing a card, touch the pasture seeds of dim sum, which can increase the probability of drawing props in Doraemon's treasure bag. Weird Cell 3. From the world of One Punch Man, it can turn human beings into monsters to gain powerful power. After eating them, they will become cruel. If they lack willpower, they will lose themselves. Super Soldier Serum. From the world of Captain America, it can enhance the user's metabolic function and all physical functions, and the brain utilization rate is 100%, reaching the peak of human potential. In the next moment, a seed, something like a fruit, and a test tube of serum appeared in front of him. Dessert grass seeds. This prop is quite useful, but I don't know if it can be used on devil fruit. After all, devil fruit is also a snack, right? But devil fruit is not the same kind of fruit, and I don't know if there is reproductive isolation. The next weirdo cell caught his eye. This thing should be considered snack, right? After all, it can be eaten, and it is the same kind of thing. I don't know if it can be reproduced with dim sum pasture. It's a pity that there is only 1 seed of snack pasture, so when can we harvest enough pasture for reproduction once? Super Soldier Serum is also a good thing, at least it can improve the combat effectiveness of ordinary people in a short period of time, but in this world, the upper limit cannot be said to be so high, unless you can get Captain America's ability to fight anyone 50-50. And there's only 1 tube of serum. What a pity. Come to think of it, Genichi is stuck with some longing scientist-like characters again. If there is a scientist clone, he can conduct research in many aspects by himself, maybe he can mass-produce monster cells and super soldier serum, and it would be great if the dim sum forage seeds can also be cloned. Thinking of this, he couldn't help remembering Vegapunk, the genius scientist in One Piece world. It's unclear whether he is in the future country or not, and whether he was caught by the world government in this timeline. He hadn't thought about this issue before, but now he can use Mazima's identity to investigate. Only now, he's here to start planting pasture seeds. Then get enough dim sum pasture to test whether it can reproduce fruits or other foods with supernatural powers. If not, then this prop will not be of much use. If it is possible, then the monsters on the sea will not need to use the jade fragments of the Four Souls to blend into sea kings or other animals for camouflage. Monster cells can definitely create real monsters. There are exactly 3 monster cells, which can be paired. After a while, you can try to see if devil fruit can reproduce. If it can, then this prop is too strong. It seems that he can rest for a while. Sometimes it is not necessary to attack all the time. A proper development of muffled voice can also relieve his mood. And this rest took a full year of rest. It has been a year since he pulled out the superpower training box, snack pasture seeds, weirdo cells and super soldier serum. It is still 1485 in the Haiyuan calendar, but it will soon be 1486. During this year, Genichi has been planting grass with peace of mind, and then cultivating weirdo cells. The weirdo cells are judged to be snacks, so they can reproduce. It's just that there is only one seed, and pastures can't grow seeds. Fortunately, snack pastures grow very fast. Basically, the amount of one seed for a week is enough for 2 weirdo cells to reproduce new weirdo cells. As for devil fruit, he has also tried it, but it is a pity that it cannot be reproduced. Sure enough, there is still a law that cannot have the same ability of devil fruit in this world, and drawing cards with million-level props cannot break through this law. Or it can be understood that devil fruit is not the same kind of fruit, so there is reproductive isolation. In addition to breeding monster cells, those superpowers created by human manufacturing machines are also exercising with superpower training boxes to enhance their telekinetic power. As for perspective and teleportation, they are only selective exercises. After all, there is only one box, and there are so many people, so there is always a trade-off. As long as there are a few people who can teleport, it is enough. Anyway, besides moving yourself, you can also move other things. Genichi himself also exercises during this year, but he exercises all 3 types, which consumes 9 hours a day. With the ability to teleport, it makes the passage between sub-air miasma seem awkward. Several of his avatars are practicing teleportation, so it's not necessary for them to take one to go out to fight, but just need to be able to arrive at a super long distance when necessary. Unlike in the world of Doraemon, the teleportation obtained with the superpower training box will also have a kind of consumption, which will consume your own physical strength or haki. The farther he teleports, the more he will consume. After all, it is impossible to really let him fly around the world, then he will be invincible. The same is true for the clairvoyance ability, only the mind power is different, and the practice of mind power will give people an additional special haki, just like haki, the dominant color of Makima. The mind energy training in the superpower training box is to make people generate energy, and perspective and teleportation are a kind of moves learned. Of course, this kind of moves can also be consumed by mind power. Although it's only been a year, the strength of those alien superpowers has grown a lot, mainly because they have a certain degree of telekinetic power. Using the superpower training box to practice telekinetic power is like a fish in water. They have grown a lot in a year. Although they are not yet adults and have not completed 3 years of practice, their growth speed is not lower than his other 2 clones, Feiken Kenshin and A Shing. And the Devil Dragon is a bit embarrassed. It may be because of his long lifespan, which limits his growth rate very slowly. It seems that if he wants to become stronger, he can only rely on external forces. Other than that, the other avatars are basically on the right track. The establishment of the Black Order takes time, and the preparations are almost done this year. The cultivation of Kenshin and A Shing also takes time, and Tuyuro is also continuing to train Haki, striving to reach the 4 Emperors' level of combat power without using the jade fragments of the 4 souls. By the way, Kenshin's originally thin body has grown a lot after eating meat, and has become a lot taller. At least he won't look like a dwarf compared to most people in this world. He once thought about whether to let him inject the super soldier serum, but in the end he wanted to wait to see if he could analyze it scientifically and then mass produce it, so he kept the serum and decided how to use it later. During this year, the growth of his emotional value has completely stagnated. At present, the positive emotion value is more than 300,000, and the negative emotion value is 8 million, which is only 2 million to be able to draw cards with tens of millions of characters. Therefore, after a year of silence, he is finally about to make a move. Makima finally got a good fruit. The Black Order, this is a world government organization headquartered on the New World Island, Lilith's Egg. After a year, the establishment of this institution has basically been completed, and the various buildings on it have been built according to the meaning of Makima, which is a field with strong theological and religious elements. And after the world government's publicity, it also attracted many people to join. Of course, there were many spies from other forces mixed in, but it didn't matter to Mazima. Her dominant power can guarantee the loyalty of these people, and it is not bad to keep these people as double agents. Just like Marine, the supreme commander of the Black Order, Makima, is also a marshal. He is nominally under the command of the marshal and also obeys the orders of the world government. But in fact, the degree of freedom is extremely high. The contract signed by Makima and the world government is to deal with demons and monsters. On this point, the Black Order must do its best, and they have the right not to accept other tasks to deal with pirates. For more than a year, Genichi would use the pieces of the Jade of the Four Souls to create a monster from time to time to give the Black Order a good record, but the efficiency of doing so was a bit low. But fortunately, it was the initial stage after all. In the setting they made up, demons were all in the state of souls, and they needed to find a suitable body to appear, so the sporadic appearances in the past 6 months did not arouse much suspicion. In addition to these, the most famous monster in the sea is Tuyuro. During this year, Nikado Yuro also made a big splash in New World. From time to time, pirates and nobles who got the jade fragments of the Four Souls were broken into by Tuyuro and took the fragments away. Because of this, the world knew his identity as a monster. In the past 6 months, a large number of pirates wanted to encircle and suppress him. But because Toguro didn't have a fixed trajectory at all, and he didn't need a fleet to travel across the sea, people couldn't catch him even if they wanted to. On the sea, Toguro has become a powerful existence that can stand side by side with Roger and Whitebeard. The game character Red Earl will not be included. And a month ago, the world government also issued an order requiring the Black Sect to arrest Huyulu. Since Toguro is a monster, the Black Order cannot refuse, so Thor went to the depths of New World to look for Toguro under the order of Makima. Of course, as long as Toguro didn't want to, he would never be found. And today, Makima is communicating with the emissary sent by the world government. In the headquarters of the Black Order, there is a huge church-like building in the center. Mazima sits in the office on the top floor, and opposite is a masked CP0. 5 elders are not in a hurry about dealing with the half-monster Huyulu. CP0 stood in front of Makima and said, "After all, Huyulu is powerful, and if he wants to kill such an opponent in the sea, I am afraid the only way to do it is to launch. We had to deal with a strong force like Shiki back then." At that time, 2 admirals and Thor were dispatched to deal with Shiki. Although the actual battlefield is not the same thing at all, it can also be seen that the attitude of the world government to deal with the big pirate in a serious state. But now there is only one Thor, and it is very easy to slip away when Tuyuro is not dead, so CP0 will say that 5 elders is not in a hurry, because this is not something that can be done in a hurry. If the strong in the sea are so easy to deal with, why are there still so many big pirates sailing rampantly in the sea? Mazima crossed her hands, and then put it on her chin. She said casually, "Thank you world government for your understanding. After all, the Black Sect has not been established for a long time, and many times it is still not in place." CP0 lowered the brim of his hat, and said in a deep voice, "But the 5 elders have a request. Since the Black Order is an organization under the world government to deal with demons, it should also abide by the laws of the world government. If the demons and monsters resolutely resist or commit serious crimes, then the members of the cult can naturally put them to death, but if the will to resist is not firm and the harm is not high, please ask the marshal to send them to the government's prison. Imper Prison is opening an additional prison for holding demons. I think Marshal, you should also understand the meaning of 5 elders, right? The meaning is very simple. They cannot let all the power to deal with demons be in the hands of Makima. They must delve into the power of demons, whether it is using demons or dealing with demons. It will allow the world government to have more room for manipulation. Mazima naturally understood the meaning of the other party, and the corner of her mouth slightly raised. I understand. I will carry out the meaning of 5 elders. Is there any problem? According to the habit of the world government, the demon should be used for human research. She has already investigated it in this year. This timeline Vegapunk has been taken away by Marine and has become a queen scientist. And even if Vegapunk is not mentioned, they have been studying giant soldiers for hundreds of years, and human experiments should be commonplace. Judging from the information Tuyuro revealed to them, people can become half demons. Although they are not real monsters, they can restore their youthful bodies. From this point of view alone, there are very few people in this world who can resist this kind of power, and it is not surprising that it will arouse the interest of 5 elders. And CP0 was a little surprised that Makima agreed so much. In the past 6 months, they had dealt with the black sect a lot. How should I put it? But there is an alternative sense of oppression. And Makima's answer to the world government has always been perfunctory and casual, but this time she nodded so easily, which made CP0 a little uncomfortable. My words have been brought to you. Now that the marshal has understood, there is no need for me to stay here anymore. It's a strange feeling. When I see Makima, I always feel a vague sense of oppression. If it's not necessary, CP0 really doesn't want to stay here, so I left very quickly at this moment. After CP0 exited, Makima leaned back in the chair. After a while, the door of the room was opened again, and Thor, who was wearing a black suit and a blue mask, came in. In name, he was chasing Tuyuro, but in fact he was doing something else. And now, his task is complete. Raytheon respectfully placed a devil fruit in his hand on the table. This is the only Logia devil fruit they have found so far. From the devil fruit illustrated book, it is Logia's snow fruit. That's right, Thor and Golden Lion have actually been out looking for a suitable devil fruit this year. After all, the Golden Lion has lost the lion fruit after his death, and his power has been weakened a lot due to being dominated. If people like Roger and Garp don't eat devil fruit or dominated after death, their strength will not be reduced too much. But the strength of a person with demon fruit power will drop a lot after death, so if you want to make him stronger, you need to find another devil fruit. Snow fruit, Logia's devil fruit, is the subordinate of frozen fruit. But in fact, it is mainly related to the devil fruit. It has nothing to do with the strength of the person. The strength of the person is the most important thing. Some people can be considered top-level powerhouses even if they don't eat devil fruit. As a rare Logia fruit, Snow fruit was later eaten by Doflamingo's subordinate Monet, but now she obviously has no chance to eat this Logia fruit. Mazima entrusted it in her hands, and the rarest thing is the most precious, and the Eudemons are the rarest, followed by Logia. To some extent, Snow fruit is already quite a good ability, thanks to the rights of the world government, otherwise a Logia fruit is not so easy to get. Go to New World. After a year of silence, it's time to move on to the next step. Snow fruit is for Shiki to eat. After eating this Logia fruit, Shiki should be able to recover a lot of strength, and he is going to let him eat a weirdo cell later. The main reason is that his physical characteristics are too obvious, and Genichi doesn't bother to dye his hair or anything. He might as well eat a monster cell to change his shape. Anyway, as long as he doesn't use the monster shape, he will still be the original appearance, and it won't affect people. Body. Isn't the world government going to study monsters? Then send them a few monsters, let them study, and he will directly receive the results when the time comes. All the people in this world who have gained his power can be monitored by him. This kind of monitoring is much more detailed than Makima's ability. Not only can he hear the sound, but he can also see the picture, as long as he wants. Now I still have 4 vacant 400 jade fragments in my hand, plus a weirdo cell. Thinking in Genichi's mind, he had already let the demon dragon clone pick up a weirdo cell. He has a total of 14 4-soul jade shards. Now Huyulu has 6 pieces, world government has 2 pieces, Roger and Whitebeard have 1 each, and he plans to put all the remaining 4-soul jade pieces on the devil dragon. A year has not actually made the devil dragon much stronger. Maybe he is not suitable for hockey's practice. He wants to give the devil a devil fruit, but there is no suitable one yet. Now the weirdo cells came first, just for the devil dragon to try the function of the weirdo cells. Although it is said that eating weirdo cells will affect people's will, it will not affect Genichi alone. Because that's what Genichi's power made in itself. At this moment, there are 4 fragments of the jade of 4 souls in the body of the devil dragon, just like when he went to Dressrosa, and in this state, he picked up the strange man's cells again, opened his mouth and swallowed them in one gulp. The monster cell was originally the thing that the Vice Admiral humans in the One Punch Man world turned into monsters, and the devil dragon would have been considered a monster in the One Punch Man world. After taking a bite, he only felt hot all over his body, and his body was wriggling everywhere. The skin on his body was originally green, but now it has become darker, and a kind of scale-like structure layer appeared on his body, and his back suddenly bulged, like 2 huge tumors. His body became bigger and more burly, and the 2 tumors behind him faintly showed signs of breaking apart, but in the end they still remained at the level of swelling. It seems that if you want the wings of the devil, you need to become stronger. The devil dragon felt the energy flowing in his body now, and was deeply satisfied with his current state. This is his eccentricity. He already possessed the strength of hundreds of millions of big pirates by simply fusing the jade fragments of the 4 souls before, and now, adding the eccentricity produced after eating the eccentric cells, his strength has greatly increased. This kind of strength is just right. After saying that, the devil dragon withdrew from the eccentric form. At this time, Genichi noticed something unusual. When the devil dragon fused the power of the monster's cells, his body seemed to have a little rejection reaction. He frowned, and after thinking of a reason, he stretched out his hand and pulled out the jade fragments of the 4 souls in his body. Immediately, his strength began to decline, but the faint sense of repulsion also disappeared. Is it because the powers of different systems are mixed too much? He fell into deep thought. If he wanted to say, he himself is the one with the most mixed powers. Power emerges within Genichi. Now in his body there are Togolo's demonic energy, Akon Miasma's substitute power, Makima's demonic power, and the power possessed by the devil dragon, Kenshin, Axing and others, so many different forces mixed in his body without any abnormal reaction. In this way, it is understandable that the props of the same level are generally stronger than the characters. After all, the negative emotional value will make him stronger, and the positive emotional value is all turned into props. But now the devil dragon has no adverse reactions after fusing the jade fragments of the 4 souls, but he lost the sense of repulsion after simply fusing the strange man's cells. Up. It is within the normal range for the demon dragon's body to fuse 2 kinds of power, but the fusion of 3 kinds of power will produce that kind of confusion or sense of rejection. This is a phenomenon of rejection that even the master of my power can't solve. If there is no sense of repulsion and can be perfectly integrated, the devil dragon should be stronger, right? Holy Lord's tiger talisman can harmonize various forces in the body. If I can have the tiger talisman, it should be able to solve this phenomenon on the devil dragon, right? Having said that, when he got the sheep charm, he didn't have such a reminder that holding one can increase the probability of others like the jade fragments of the 4 souls and Doraemon props. There are no prompts for props like weirdo cells. Both the jade fragments of the 4 souls and the Doraemon props have a characteristic, that is, they are all split from one place, part of it. But spells are also one of the powers of the Holy Lord, right? Why is there no prompt? Thinking of this, Genichi couldn't help recalling the plot of Jackie Chan's adventures, and finally a picture flashed in his mind. By the way, when the statue of the Holy Lord was blown up, the power of those split spells did not all return to the Holy Lord's body, but returned to the body of the animal that symbolized him. Only the power of the dragon spell was because he was the only one in the world. A dragon came back into his body. Could it be, has something to do with this? He can only make such guesses now. It's a pity that there are many powerful spells among the 12 charms, but the sheep charm is also a good prop. At first, he felt that the sheep charm was not as good as an item that could directly increase power, but now that he had no shortage of power, he felt that this functional item was also very good. While thinking this way, he had already taken out the sheep talisman, and after throwing it to the devil dragon, he opened the door of sub-air miasma. The little devil dragon walked into the portal of darkness, and then walked out of the headquarters of the Black Church in New World. Makima was just before the Dark Uzumaki. Taking advantage of this time, she sent the Snow Fruit plus a Zone's Devil Fruit to Genichi's hand. Mazima took over the sheep charm, and the devil dragon left through the secret passage specially left by Mazima, marching towards the depths of the New World, ready to start the next plan. Devil Xiaolong practiced his mind power and teleportation ability for a year through the superpower training box, but he had to practice for 3 years. He wasn't proficient in a year, and using teleportation would consume a lot of energy, so he wouldn't use teleportation when it wasn't necessary. And Makima also left naval headquarters with the sheep charm, but she didn't go to New World, but crossed the red line and headed towards Mariejois, the headquarters of the world government. The distance from Mariejois to naval headquarters is more than enough for her to use the sheep charm on Sengoku. Not only is Mazima's identity completely legal, but even her abilities can span long distances, just like her ultra-long distance monitoring that can almost span a continent. She can control living things, including memory, so it is not a difficult problem to control a dream. Coupled with the existence of the sheep charm, she only needs to be in Mariejois to control the dream of Sengoku in naval headquarters. But before that, she also has to meet the 5 elders again to find a good reason for her arrival this time. So in the Holy Land of Mariejois, between the rites of Pongal Castle, Makima saw the 5 elders again after a year. It's not a trivial matter to be able to let you come here in person, right? In fact, the 5 elders were also quite surprised, because they just sent CP0 to see Makima, but the other party did not choose to tell CP0 but informed them that they wanted to see them. Then it is obvious that she thinks what she is going to say next cannot be heard by a CP0 level. So they agreed to the application that Makima came to see this again from between the rites. The Marshal of the Black Order with eyes similar to Lord Imes. That's right, Mazima said softly, and then stretched out her hand. A mass of green skin tissue appeared in her palm. I'm here to talk about Zero, with the 5 of you. In that fight a year ago, Marine got half of Zero's body. Although this high probability is not really Zero, after all, he smiled and said goodbye to Roger before he died, but it still cost the world government a lot of research. That half of the corpse is now undergoing various experiments in the laboratory prepared by the world government, and they found that the structure of this half of the body is not much different from that of humans. But there is a strange power in the body, especially the part of the brain that seems to have an extra structure than ordinary people. Although they haven't researched anything concrete until now, it also allowed them to discover a new world. It's just that the samples are too few and incomplete, so I sent a little skin structure to the Black Order half a year ago, hoping that they can get more clues from this skin structure. And now, Makima took this cell and appeared in front of the 5 elders. We have discovered the location of the person related to Zero, please dispatch Marine Admiral to exterminate them. A 5 elders frowned and said, dealing with demons has always been the task of the Black Order. Is it necessary for the world government to dispatch Marine Admiral? In fact, they really want to catch them by themselves. After all, if they can get more of these subjects, then their experiment progress should be much faster. But it has to be decent, because they cooperated with Makima to let her deal with the demons, and now they are asked to send Marine, which is not in line with the rules. That's right, the Black Order does deal with demons. Mazima said softly, uttering a sentence that shocked the 5 elders. But those who have something to do with Zero are not demons, but humans. Makima said in a deep voice, the Black Order is only responsible for dealing with demons, monsters, devils or half-demons, and dealing with humans is not part of our business. Middle. What about Zero is human? It is even said that Zero itself has the possibility of being a human being, right? Judging from the half-Zero body obtained before, the body structure is not much different from that of humans, and that difference is completely within the acceptable range, because humans themselves include many races. Even the race of giants exists, so there is no problem with the existence of this strange new human being. However, monsters and demons should not be this kind of life form. According to what Mazima said, they are formed by the darkness of this world. Although they have flesh, they should not be so close to humans. In comparison, the demonized Tuyuro and the devil dragon are both closer to the image of a devil than this experimental subject. So they have been skeptical ever since they got the experimental results, and now Makima's statement can be regarded as an answer to a question for them. Quote. Five elders was silent for a moment, and finally the five elders with the knife said in a deep voice, "What clues do you have?" Some humans communicated with the demons in hell, and learned about the Jade of the Four Souls. That's why the previous series of events happened. The piece of green skin on Makima's hand slowly floated up. Makima said with her hands behind her back. That part of human beings got part of the power of a demon lord in hell, and wanted to liberate them from hell, so the corpse of Zero Yukat is actually meaningless. As long as there are those human beings who believe in him existence, he has as many bodies as he wants. Worshipping demons, said five elders, with shaggy white beards, at Makima's words. This is not an acceptable reason. You should understand, Makima. Since we have signed a contract, we should be sincere. Belief in demons is of course not an excuse. It is unknown how many people have believed in demons since ancient times. The satanic lineage may be older than the world government, yet nothing like it has ever happened before. The demons all have their own real names, and only their real names are what they care about. Maybe they got the real name of the demon that no one else knew before, or maybe they got something related to the demon. In short, it's better to leave it to Marine or CP to search for it. After Makima finished speaking, the floating flesh in front of her body suddenly deformed a little, and then began to distort and deform bit by bit, and finally turned into something like a silhouette. The devil's believers are concentrated in this country. I think with the world government's ability to investigate a country like this, it shouldn't be a problem. Five elders glanced at the deformed flesh and then at Makima, wondering about her motives. Could it be that she really didn't want to be in charge of matters related to non-demons? As if understanding five elders' hesitation, Makima said, "The Black Order was founded a year ago. If it wasn't confirmed as a demon, we still don't have so many people to take care of it. This time a demon lord is involved, and we have to be cautious. If Naval Headquarters confirms that there are demons or some demonic items in it, the Black Order will also send reinforcements. So, do you want Marine to die first?" Five elders thought of this, but at the same time realized that the country might be extremely dangerous, and even Makima needed some cannon fodder to send him to death to investigate intelligence. This was another exchange of benefits. They asked Makima to catch some demons and monsters for their research, while Makima asked them to send some cannon fodder to investigate the information of this incident. But that's not much loss for them. Naval Headquarters is certainly a huge force defending the rule of the world government, but in the eyes of the five elders, they are dead when they die. It would be totally worth it if they could obtain information for them to exterminate the demon cultists related to Zero. Most of all, if they don't take it with the help of Makima, that's enough to accept all the legacy of this event. The Zeros seem to have the ability to find the jade fragments of the Four Souls. They searched for so long and still found nothing, but at that time Zero was able to easily fuse 4 pieces of 4 soul jade fragments to Kraken's body. Not to mention anything else, they are very interested in this ability alone. The jade pieces of the 4 souls have incredible power. Once collected and reassembled to form the Jade of the Four Souls, it will be more important than the sacrifice of any marine, the lives of demons and pirates. Makima left. One of the 5 elders said, "Let Marine do Buster Call, with Admiral leading Buster Call." No, what if we want to destroy important information? We can't rely too much on that woman, Makima, in dealing with demons. First of all, we need to find this country. Although we have a general outline, the situation in the world is changing rapidly. The territory of many countries where wars have occurred is changing every day. Their argument is between rights. It's very dark tonight. Makima, who walked out from the right, did not go back directly to the Black Order, but stayed in Mariejois for a while, and walked to the other end after dark, looking at the distant sea from above. There is no such opportunity to enjoy the scenery on the sea. Even if there are mountains on the island, it is difficult to have such a wide viewing angle of the scenery here in Mariejois. Although it is a very strange thing to see the sea view at night, in the heart of world government, Makima is a weird person. Naval Headquarters is not far from Mariejois, as is Sabayati Archipelago. It is precisely because of its proximity that Ninetails was able to blast directly into Mariejois. But now, she is secretly using the sheep charm to enter the dream of someone who is sleeping deep at night. Because of the experience of entering Sengoku's dream last time, Makima is familiar with this time. In the previous period of time, naval headquarters was still brightly lit. Mazima handed over the outline to the 5 elders, but the 5 elders would not investigate these things by themselves. If they were required to do everything, what would their subordinates do? Therefore, naval headquarters has been busy for most of the day. The main reason is that the world is unstable now, and the territorial outlines of many countries are changing. At least from the current map, there are no matching countries, and there are still some countries that have not joined the world government that they do not understand. Therefore, they could only constantly compare maps of different periods, and finally located a world government franchise country called Jaltsburg country, on the Grand Line. Due to the lack of resources in this country, it can only rely on continuous wars to plunder resources, and the world government is too lazy to care about its life and death, as long as it can pay the gold on time. As long as they can pay the world government can ignore their aggression against other fields and countries. Even if the target is also a member of the world government, it doesn't matter, it will only be treated as a civil strife. So, is it this kind of environment that promotes the belief in demons in that kind of country? According to Marshal Kong's order, Marine will be led by Garp to Jaltsburg tomorrow, and it is only the vanguard. Several vice admirals from naval headquarters and even this admiral are ready to support. Although it will make people wonder whether it is too nervous to dispatch so many troops for a small country, but it is worth the tension when it comes to the devil of Zero. In an inexplicable unease, Sengoku entered the dream state. We meet again. In front of Sengoku is still the blank world. He was a little uncomfortable at first, but he quickly realized that he had come to this place a year ago. In the white world, there is a figure dressed in black, with a mask of thin ice on his face. The ice is transparent but Sengoku cannot see the other person's face clearly. D. Shishin. Sengoku still remembered the name of this person. The person wearing the ice mask seemed to appear in front of him because he ate the Buddha fruit. Chapter 71. During this year, Sengoku has found a lot of information about Indra, but there is no one with this name in the real world except for this person in the myth. And he seems to have a certain understanding of Zero and the others, so he may be the same as them, an enlightened being from a long time ago. Since there were monsters and witches in the previous era, then there was Buddha. It is also very reasonable, right? Of course, this is just an idea of Sengoku, or one of the guesses. Maybe it's not a Buddha but a demon in heaven. Exactly, I have some questions for you. Sengoku didn't wait for D. Shishin to speak, and directly asked his own question. He knew that D. Shishin's existence was limited, and he wasted a lot of time last time because of this loss. He didn't know who Indra was, but he seemed to know a lot. He didn't know what purpose D. Shishin had, but anyway, let's ask whether the answer is true or not. Although the Black Order was established, there was very little communication with other departments. It was rare to meet a person who seemed to know a lot of things. Naturally, Sengoku wanted to find answers to some questions from him. Who the hell is Zero? What's in Jaltsburg? What's the purpose of Makima? He will judge whether he is an enemy based on D. Shishin's answer this time. Sengoku has always been very wary of D. Shishin. This person who appeared at the same time as Zero appeared in his side, but not necessarily really a good person. Sengoku, as admiral, has often passed the time to talk about good and evil. As a righteous person who has the ruler of the world, he values interests more when necessary. No matter who D. Shishin is, as long as he can bring enough benefits, then why not trust him? Sengoku thought so he asked these questions directly. D. Shishin chuckled, with his hands behind his back. He seemed to have known that Sengoku would ask these questions, and said naturally, I don't know about hell, but in that endless war there is a tribe that believes in demons, that the Horde got a Pandora's box of demonic will. Pandora's box. Everything about a truly powerful demon is terrifying, and the will of the demon is no exception. The magic box polluted by it has the ability to allow people to obtain super powerful thoughts, and the more people who fit the ability of thoughts, the more powerful they will be. Able to hear the voice of demons, and eventually be bewitched to become demon believers. That's why Zero is able to complete the control of the present world in hell. As long as he controls those who are bewitched or even seized by his will, he can leave this hell and return to the present world one day. Quote. So it was that Pandora's box that bewitched some people in the Kingdom of Endless Wars, and then gave Zero the ability to interfere in the world, and then there were subsequent events such as Nine Tails, Tuyuro, and the Jade of the Four Souls. Sengoku took his words to heart, and he had to tell Garp about these things later. He only told Garp about his communication with T-Shishin, and Marshal Kong and 5 elders didn't even know about the others. Everyone has their own little secrets. In fact, Garp can transform into the Nine-Tails Fox form, and only he and Zephyr know it. It will definitely become troublesome to let the world government know about this kind of thing. Then what is the purpose of Makima? Sengoku couldn't help but think of this woman again. Is this woman who suddenly appeared really a demon hunter from the jade fragments of the Four Souls? Or, who wants to create more chaos? The establishment of the Black Order has indeed killed many monsters and stabilized the order of the world, but Sengoku has an ominous feeling whenever he sees her. Killing demons is the same as killing some demons completely. D-Shishin answered Sengoku's doubts softly, but he said something that made Sengoku even more puzzled. What does this mean? Sengoku was puzzled. To kill certain demons thoroughly, could it be said that the previous one was not thorough, and why some demons? Some demons are related to a certain origin of this world. Once they die, that phenomenon will disappear. If the diseased demon dies completely, then the disease in this world will disappear. D-Shishin said in a deep voice, Machima wants to achieve this level. She wants to completely wipe out certain demons, but I don't know exactly how she will kill them, and which demons she will kill. Demons are related to the concept of the world. Sengoku flinched. This was something he hadn't thought of before. This kind of existence was too dangerous. It's just that before he thought about it, he only heard D-Shishin continue to say, but the kind of demons related to the source are immortal, and even the death of most demons is just falling into hell, just like the jade fragments of the Four Souls. Those big demons whose souls have been wiped out, in the end, they just return to hell instead of dying completely. Makima wants to kill the demon completely, but no one knows what means she will use to accomplish her ambition. This is your world, and it should be discovered by your eyes. I see. Sengoku pondered for a moment, finally looked directly at D-Shishin, looked at the thin ice mask on his face, and said deeply, so, what is your purpose? To appear in my dream with me speaking of these things, I'm afraid it's not just because you want to talk to me. You are a rare enlightened person who can reach this level of Buddha fruit. Maybe you can do something for me. Before that, consider the information you want to know as an exchange. D-Shishin raised his head slightly, and said softly, all dharmas and all truths cannot be obtained. His body gradually turned into light and disappeared. Sengoku watched his body disappear without speaking. In fact, D-Shishin said that he needed to ask him for help to make him feel relieved. After all, there is no help in this world for no reason. This time, he directly said that he would have to help with something next, but he was relieved instead. If you need help with something, it proves that Sengoku is no longer a purely weak side. Although it seems like a villain to think so, in this world, if you don't have this kind of vigilance and trust others without authorization, you may not be able to get where he is now. Step. Sengoku came to Admiral's position from a small soldier, and he had such a realization long ago. So in the next thought, he fell into a deep sleep, and when he woke up, it was already dawn. Pandora's box, tribe, there should be someone in it who can communicate with Zero, but I don't know how powerful it will be. After Sengoku got up from the bed, he prepared to selectively tell Garp part of what happened last night before Garp left. Grand Line, Geraldsburg Country. Huyulu came here with sub-air miasma, and they did not walk on the streets of a certain city, but advanced towards the deep mountains and old forests, and finally came to a vast wasteland composed of continuous high mountains. And in an extremely secret corner in the wasteland, there was something like an underground passage, and Huyulu walked in slowly, and came to a vast underground space. It looks as if several mountains and the earth have been hollowed out to connect the underground space. There is not much light, but there are many people. Or, can it still be considered a human being? These humans inside have dark skin, their eyes are large, and exude a strange light. It is the aliens created by Genichi with the human manufacturing machine. This is an underground space opened up by Genichi during this year, and he has made a lot of preparations for this step. But now these aliens are forming a circle, and in the center of the circle is a box, and they are all staring at the box to gain more powerful power. There are more than 100 of them, all of whom are about 13 or 14 years old. In about another year, they will grow to adulthood. After another year of adulthood, their physical abilities will reach their peak. Coupled with the strength gained from the superpower training box for 2 years, their strength should be much stronger, right? However, it will take 2 years to grow to the peak. However, he told Marine the information now because he completely believed in Marine's ability. It might take 2 years for those people in Naval Headquarters to notice this. After all, Marine is a powerful organization that can push Roger into a corner and force out a One Piece alive. What's more, there is such an insider as Makima and the satellite monitoring. Before they are fully developed, it is enough to flirt with them in the Jaltsburg National Circle. And as time goes by, the pirates will definitely be able to detect Marine's movements, and it will definitely be more chaotic here. From chaos to ultimate, he will draw tens of millions of character cards. 2 years is enough time. Behind Tuyuro, sub-air miasma unfolded, and then a large number of strange human cells gushed out from it. The amount of pasture for 7 days can allow 2 weirdo cells to reproduce once, and a new weirdo cell will be born in one multiplication, and sometimes twins or even triplets will appear in Genichi itself. After the weird cells that didn't grow up, all the rest were shipped over. There are more than 70 in number, not enough for everyone, but Genichi himself didn't want to turn all the aliens into monsters in one go. Take it easy, he is not in a hurry. After 3 hours of practice, a person with superpowers ate the strange man's cells, and suddenly some changes occurred in his body. 2 antennae-like structures grew on his head, and even a slit appeared on his forehead. The third eye in general. The color on his body became darker, his body grew rapidly, and he grew tens of centimeters in the blink of an eye, reaching the height of a normal adult in no time. Go and test the power of today. Hu Yu and Lu Dandan ordered. These aliens are all people who have been brainwashed by Makima with the power of domination and obey them, not puppets, so they need to give orders to do what they want to do. The superpower nodded, walked out of the underground, and came to the outside world. This was originally a wasteland surrounded by mountains, and it was an abandoned place in the capital of Jaltsburg. Therefore, it will not be discovered if you try your own power here. After the superpower user walked out, he raised his hand and pointed his palm at a mountain. The next moment, a huge force was launched, as if a missile had been launched, causing a large ripple in the air. Tuyuro looked at the mountain in front of him and suddenly a huge hole appeared, as if what a powerful force forcibly poached it away. Very nice. After Huyu and Lu Dandan made a comment, the superhuman appeared a little blush like a student who had been praised by the teacher. This is indeed a very good destructive power. This kind of strength is definitely considered a strong man on the sea. In the future, he can be regarded as a strong man at the cadre level when he goes to the 4 Emperors Regiment. Now he can mass produce it as long as he has time. If the 3-year training is over, they may be able to reach the level of the 3 disasters in the future, and in that case it can be said to be very strong. It's just a pity that they don't provide emotional value to Genichi, which means they can't enjoy too many benefits that Genichi gives them. On the other side of the Jaltsburg country, unlike the abandoned mountain land, here is a city that the Jaltsburg country and another country often compete for. Douglas Bullet ran excitedly in the city, and was rewarded with a medal for his great achievements in capturing the city. This is an honor that can only be obtained by those who have made the greatest military exploits in this country. And Bullet got such a medal at the age of 8, what kind of monster is he? No one can tell, but no matter how powerful he is just a child now, and he is running excitedly in the city at this moment, naturally to find his own partners and share his joy and honor with them. Bullet was adopted by the army since he was a child, and his companions are also some young soldiers, and among all the young soldiers, he is of course the strongest one. But to be the strongest, one is destined to be different, and one is destined to embark on a path different from others. And his difference came during this day. Everyone, I got the highest medal. Bullet just opened the door, wanting to show off his medals to his companions, but the moment he opened the door, a gas came out from inside. Bullet felt powerless all of a sudden, and then his whole body collapsed to the ground. Could it be an enemy attack? Are there still people from the enemy country lurking in this city? But why is it the place agreed upon by myself and my partner? Bullet was puzzled, but someone stepped on his head and said in his familiar voice, "You are not human at all, you are a monster." His eyes widened, because the voice that spoke was exactly those young soldiers who grew up with him. He fell on the ground struggling to raise his head, and he could still see those partners gathered together, looking at him with cold eyes. Only the most outstanding adults in this world can get this medal. Bullet, you are a young soldier like us. How could you get such an important thing? You monster, a monster addicted to war, you will sooner or later kill all of us. Killed. The young soldiers gathered together. They were afraid of Bullet's power, and one of them directly snatched the medal from Bullet's hand. Such a great medal does not belong to a monster like you. There is nothing wrong with them being Bullet's contemporaries, but during the long war, they were also deeply afraid of Bullet's power, which is not what human beings should have at all. Can a child who is only 8 years old have the medal of a country's highest military honor? Absolutely not. This fear has reached its peak at this moment. Only those who have stayed with Bullet all year round know that this man's heart is full of violence and killing. Sooner or later, he will even destroy his own country. So they're going to kill Bullet, right here. After subduing Bullet with the traps they made, they are equivalent to saving the country, and only they are worthy of this medal. They thought so, and they also got very good props. A can of poison gas stored in the army suddenly appeared in their dormitory. As long as this poison gas is used, even that monster like Bullet will have to behave. Just grab it. Just like now, they easily stepped on Bullet's body and snatched him the medal that he regards as the highest honor. If they confronted head-on, Bullet would have torn them to pieces, but now they are trampled under their feet. You, these fools. Bullet's body was constantly punched and kicked by his former companions, and the poisonous gas was eroding his nerves, as if he wanted to make him faint. This was a feeling he had never felt before, so close to death. He has never thought about this issue, because he is the strongest, no matter what kind of enemy he has defeated. It is because he has been enjoying the victory that he was able to get the medal, but he did not expect to lose in the hands of someone I trusted in the past. Quote ? Quote. Bullet wanted to use his last strength to resist, but the poisonous gas was so powerful that he couldn't use his strength. He could only watch those people set fire in the room, and then ran out happily. The flames were burning, and Bullet could feel the temperature getting higher and higher, and it was roasting his body right beside him. The burning of the flame seemed to drive away part of the nerve anesthesia produced by the poisonous gas, but there was still no strength. Could it be? Is it really going to end here? Quote. Suddenly, in the burning house, footsteps sounded. Is anyone not leaving? Was it because you were worried about yourself that you came to kill him? Bullet tried his best to stand up, but he felt even more dizzy. Obviously the flames had already burned his body, but even the burning pain was gradually fading away. In fact, too much trust is the biggest poisonous miasma. With your strength, even if you take a little precaution, it is impossible for them to hurt you with this level of poisonous gas. Just when his heart sank to the bottom of the sea, when he was about to pass out, a woman's voice suddenly appeared in his ears. He raised his eyes with the last of his strength, and only saw a lower body wearing leather shoes and trousers, but judging from the figure and the previous voice, it was a woman. You still want to live, right? The woman spoke again. As long as you can see my appearance, I will give you a new life and a new realm. Bullet doesn't want to die, at least he wants to kill the group of past companions who attacked him. So he tried his best to raise his head. He wanted to see who the other party was. Who will die here? Bullet gritted his teeth. Suddenly his brain seemed to be blank, as if some power was transmitted from the paralyzed nerves. His spirit seemed to be lifted infinitely. A powerful force was transmitted from his mind to the whole body, and finally released it. A powerful aura exploded from Bullet's body, and it was transmitted from his body to the outside. Those young soldiers who ran outside and observed the burning room suddenly rolled their eyes and foamed at the mouth and fell down. Conqueror's Haki. At this moment, in a moment of life and death, Bullet awakened Haki of Conquerors, and at the same time his body surged with new power, allowing Bullet to finally see the whole body of the woman in front of him. She was wearing a white shirt, a black tie, and orange-pink hair, but what shocked Bullet the most were her eyes. Those eyes were like black holes, absorbing everything in this world, even his soul. As if being sucked in. Then, he lowered his head again. Because of the poisonous gas erosion, he was about to pass out. What a nice kid. Bullet saw the woman leaning down slowly, gently touching his body with one hand. The next moment he felt that his paralyzed brain suddenly became awake, and he was quickly regaining control over his body. What's your name? The woman asked again. Bullet, Douglas Bullet. Bullet said loudly. Douglas, is that your troop commander's surname? Abandon it, and from now on you are Bullet, Bullet of the Black Order. Mazima said softly. Are you Marshal Makima of the Black Order? Bullet suddenly remembered the Black Order organization that has become popular recently. The leader of this organization seems to be the woman he saw in the newspaper before. With your talent, it's a pity to be in such a country. Follow me, and I will show you how powerful you really are. You can also pursue that power. Mazima stretched out her palm, pointed it in one direction, only stretched out her index finger and thumb, like a pistol, and said softly. Boom. For a moment, it was as if something had been released from Mazima's grasp. What did she unleash? Bullet didn't know, but he knew in his heart that something was going to happen, and in the next second, Mazima's figure had completely disappeared, leaving only one sentence in the room filled with flames. Look at this country with your current eyes. When you want to pursue power from the bottom of your heart, come to the Black Order to find me. He stared blankly at the figure of Mazima who suddenly disappeared, and couldn't help saying slowly. Strength. Now that Bullet had completely escaped the influence of the poisonous gas, he stood up, completely ignoring the burning fire on his body, and muttered these two words in his mouth. At this moment, the pursuit of power in his heart was stronger than ever. Then, he went out to complete the execution of those young soldiers. Bullet walked out of the burning house, and his body was covered in flames. For an 8-year-old boy, this should be an extremely terrifying scene, but Bullet regards this pain as his own training. What's more, all the suffering so far is because he didn't notice the danger coming. He was too careless, so he should suffer the pain of burning flames to punish himself. On the contrary, those who set fire should punish themselves with death. Bullet looked at the group of young soldiers who were stunned by his conqueror's hockey. Without a trace of pity in his eyes, he just stepped on them and smashed their heads into pieces. After everything was done, there was only a piece of blood and the flesh of the mold lake, and Bullet didn't bother to wake up these little brats and torture them slowly, so at this moment, he no longer took these wastes seriously in his heart. He turned his head and looked at the direction that Mazima pointed her fingers in the house before. At that time, she seemed to be using a pistol and slammed into the distance. And now, he could only see from the outside, from the direction the index finger was pointing at, there was obviously no damage, but it just made Bullet feel that something must have happened in this direction. After killing all those young soldiers, he took back the medal and ran all the way in this direction. He came back from this direction just now, so it is clear who is there. That is the direction of the Army Commander Douglas Gray, and he passed the medal just now to Bullet through the top general. After seeing Bullet's fighting power, he cared the most for Bullet. Bullet used to indulge in that kind of care, but now he has changed, and he wants to see with his own eyes what it means to be strong. Then, he took a long time to come to the military headquarters and saw the chaotic army commander camp with his own eyes. Quote. Bullet pushed away several people, and ran all the way to the center of the chaos. The place where Gray's office used to be is now being tightly blocked by a group of soldiers. Bullet doesn't care about these things at all. He will dare to stand in front of everyone, push it away, and then directly entered the office. Then he saw his former superior, Douglas Gray, with his own eyes. He was still sitting in his seat, looking dignifiedly looking down, but he could no longer give any instructions. Because a pothole appeared on his forehead, as if something had penetrated his head. Bullet, you're crazy. At this time, there were screams from outside. It was the people Bullet pushed down before. They all knew Bullet's existence and knew that this was a young man who had made great achievements in this war. Although he was only 8 years old, everyone knew that this would be the future stars of this country. However, at this time, Bullet only felt a burst of excitement in his heart, and he didn't feel sad at all for the death of his superior. That woman. Now there is only the image of that woman in his mind. At such a distance, she just killed Douglas Gray in the core of the barracks with just a single finger. Is this what she meant by being strong? Just saying that he would give up the shackles of the surname Douglas for himself, and easily killed the military chief of a country. Mazima has such power, she can even shoot people out of the earth from the air to the universe, as long as others are lower than her, and Gray is far inferior to Mazima in terms of strength and status. Nothing could be easier to dominate such a person. And it was this kind of ease that seemed to raise a new concept in Bullet's heart, and he was deeply intoxicated and fascinated by this kind of strength. That's right, this is what he wants to pursue. Wars and medals are just appurtenances to stimulate power, and being strong is the ultimate goal. Let me see this country in a new light. Bullet murmured. Is there something in this country that I couldn't see before? Hey, Bullet, what are you talking about? The guards who rushed over couldn't help being surprised when they saw Bullet's performance. They suddenly pointed their guns at Bullet and said, "Do you know something? Did you betray the Gray Army? Is it long? I'm just liberated from this place." The young Bullet grinned in horror, turning around so the others could see his expression. "I'm leaving the army, and I'll see a world that I couldn't see before." Bullet took a step forward, and this step stimulated the nerves of the guards, and he immediately shouted. "Stay still, Douglas Bullet, you're involved in the murder of the army captain. If you resist, we'll shoot you on the spot." They were startled when they saw that Bullet was leaving the army. If someone as powerful as Bullet leaves the army and becomes a force in other countries, won't they be finished when he grows up again? So don't let Bullet go no matter what. Miscellaneous fish. Bullet's 8-year-old body had a normal adult height, and there were still some burnt marks on his body, and even his clothes were tattered. And what he has to fight now is more and more soldiers who have heard the news. They are wearing army uniforms, holding long guns and sharp cannons, a group of hard-covered soldiers and an 8-year-old boy. Battle. However, completely annihilated. After an unknown amount of time, Garp came to the ruins and saw the military camps with flames and corpses everywhere. Marine has come to this country in order to investigate matters related to the devil. With the authority of naval headquarters, they requested the cooperation of this world government member country, but they received a notice from the king not long after they arrived. The soldiers who said this location were all wiped out suddenly. Garp thought it might have something to do with the devil, so he brought Marine here. At this moment, among the countless rubble, Garp walked to the center. Looking around, the entire barracks had been killed, and the description given by the king was not at all false. As this, made by a demon. Garp frowned, thinking. Vice Admiral Garp, the body has been buried. Garp is still in the ruins of the military area, but the bodies of the soldiers who died inside were dug a grave by other sailors and buried in it. With so many corpses outside, it is easy to cause a plague, and the city does not know how many people will die by then. Did anyone nearby say they saw anything? Garp asked after nodding his head. I heard that a man covered in fire broke in, and then ran out covered in blood. No one could see his face clearly, but judging from the initial trajectory, it was Douglas Bullet, the former captain of the boys' squad. The possibility is very high. A Marine Rear Admiral said to Garp. Douglas Bullet. Garp had already seen some information about this army when he came here, so he had a little impression of this young man. Although he is only 8 years old, he has already made a name for himself on the battlefield and won the highest level of awards, but even so, can he have the strength to kill all the people in a military region? That Douglas Gray is not weak, and there are thousands of troops. It is hard to imagine that Bullet, who is only 8 years old, can kill so many people. What kind of monster is this? But the whole body is on fire. Could it be that he ate some devil fruit? If this is the case, then there is a certain possibility. After all, a good devil fruit can greatly increase a person's strength. But why did he do it? Is it related to the devil? Since it is called a devil, then the most basic demagogy should be able to do it, right? After all, Bullet can't suddenly get excited and want to kill all his past comrades, can he? But no matter what, Bullet has committed the most unforgivable crime of betrayal. Before getting more information about the devil, Garp decided to start the investigation with Bullet. After all, this is a member country of the world government, and it is also within the scope of Marine's protection. After suffering such a disaster, it is impossible for him, as Marine's Vice Admiral, to ignore it. Moreover, Garp vaguely felt that Bullet might really have something to do with the devil. This time he came to represent the world government, and he has great power, not only the Marine, but even the CP can order. With CP's intelligence system, he believes that he should be able to find Bullet quickly. However, just after Garp gave the order and walked around the city for a while, he suddenly saw a person. This city originally belonged to another country that joined the world government. The country of Jaltsburg captured it, so military control is still in effect. There are few people on the streets, and most of them are dilapidated. It looks like it has withstood the war of baptism. And in one of the streets, Garp saw a slightly bloated man in a black robe walking to the end of an alley, and then jumped more than 10 meters high, onto a 4-story building. Then he ran all the way forward, and the direction he was going in was almost the same as the direction Garp came from. Garp frowned. Although I don't know who this is, but at this time, with such a dress, I am rushing towards the military area where the devastating incident happened. There must be nothing wrong with taking him down. Shave. Garp's body disappeared in an instant, and when he reappeared the next moment, he was extremely close to the man in black robe. At this time, the man in black robe obviously sensed that someone was following him behind him, so he suddenly increased his speed. The shaving in Marine 6 styles refers to stepping on the ground dozens of times at high speed in an instant to produce explosive reaction force to move at high speed, and it seems to disappear from the eyes of the enemy. And Garp's shaving can be considered top level among all Marines, but it took only a while. Although the man in black robe increased his speed, he was still not as fast as Garp. Hey, let me see who you are. Garp appeared directly behind the man in black this time, grabbed his black robe with one hand, pulled it hard, and directly pulled it from the man, pulled off his body. Quote ? Quote. However, when the appearance under the black robe was revealed, it was Garp who was shocked, because it was not a person at all, but a green lizard-like upright creature. He opened his mouth, and spit out a large amount of flames directly from his mouth. As soon as the flame appeared, it brought high temperature, and rushed towards Garp like a spinning fire snake. He wanted to avoid it, but when he saw the houses behind him, he couldn't help punching forward, and with a bang, the flames scattered. Devil Dragon. Garp tentatively said the name of the demon in front of him. There is such a demon in Marines information, and some of the information can only be read with Admiral authority. Although Garp is not Admiral, he has the same period as Admiral, especially Zephyr himself has dealt with this demon dragon, so Garp has been interested in this demon dragon for a while. However, after this Dressrosa, he seemed to have disappeared. Unexpectedly, he could be found in the country of Jaltsburg. Devil Xiaolong, the son of the Holy Lord, one of the 8 demon lords, is not strong in himself, but he has a great background. Could it be that his appearance here is also related to that? Zero. Zero is also a demon lord. Could it be that Zero is the Holy Lord? It's not that Naval Headquarters didn't think about this possibility, and now seeing the Devil Dragon appear in Jaltsburg country, Garp thinks this is a good opportunity. It's the Marine again. The demon dragon stood on a tall building, and after seeing Garp's Marine uniform, he couldn't help but said in disgust, "When did Naval Headquarters come to take care of our demons? I didn't strike at your king." The last time in Dressrosa, the Devil Dragon attacked King Liku because he wanted to snatch the jade fragments of the 4 souls, and Zephyr repelled him only when he appeared. There is no reason why the Marine can't control the devil. Garp was in a good mood after seeing the Devil Dragon, and he couldn't help laughing. You have your own bounty just like the pirates, although the Black Order is in charge of the devil and monsters, but that doesn't mean we, Naval Headquarters, will tolerate evil. Devil Xiaolong, the bounty is 630 million Baileys. I don't know how many pirates in the sea do not have such a high bounty as you. Trouble. Devil Xiaolong said, "What a bunch of meddling and boring humans. Go to hell." Boom. He spit out flames again, and the flames were more blazing and scorching hot than the one he spit out in a hurry before. After practicing for a year and fusing 4 fragments of the 4-soul jade, even if he didn't turn into a monster, he was still stronger than when he appeared in Dressrosa. Times need to be stronger. It's just that the level of becoming stronger obviously can't make up for the gap in strength with Garp, and the full breath is still rushed by Garp. The demon dragon crossed his hands to block the iron fist that scattered the flames, and he immediately retreated tens of meters, even collapsing a house behind him. This city has already experienced wars, and there are not many people left at all, which allows Garp to flex his muscles to his heart's content. He appeared in front of the fallen devil dragon, and punched again, but the devil dragon dodged it. Whether it is now or later, Marine's top combat power is very strong, but most of them do not have the Conqueror's entanglement, which can be called the magic skill of the king. Unless there is a devil fruit with the peak attack power, like lava fruit, it will be difficult to perfectly suppress the lower players. For example, the three of them, Fujitora, Sengoku and Crane, together can make Jack, the weakest of the three disasters, overturn a few ships, but Garp now deliberately wants to get more information, so he uses all his strength when he makes a move. At this moment, the demon dragon and Garp felt a little strenuous after just a few moves. After all, even without Conqueror's hockey, the strength gap between the two sides was so great. Garp's strength is stronger than Zephyr's. This is the feeling of Genichi through the two battles of the devil dragon, or there is a big problem with Zephyr's fighting style. If you don't fight with the heart of killing the enemy, how can you show your strongest strength? Let's talk about it. Are you the son of Zero? Garp punched again. This punch hit the devil dragon's abdomen directly, and knocked him out with a bang. At the same time Garp asked loudly. This time he didn't pursue it again, because judging from the strength, the devil dragon should lose his fighting power with this punch. What nonsense are you talking about? The demon dragon fell into a pile of ruins. He pushed away the rubble and panted slightly, I am the heir of the great holy lord, the strongest dragon in the world. What? Did I guess wrong? Garp stared. Since you have nothing to do with Zero, why did you appear in this country? HMPH. The devil dragon said coldly. It's okay to tell you, there is a piece of jade fragment of 4 souls corresponding to my father in this country, that Zero will use this jade fragment of 4 souls to attract me, and use me as a sacrifice to open the gate of hell that was supposed to let my father pass through, door and let him through. Are you an idiot? Hearing what the devil dragon said, Garp couldn't help but snapped his nose, and then flicked the booger out. You know it's a trap, but you still step in. The devil dragon stood up slowly, and suddenly exuded an aura that Garp didn't expect, and at this moment he said at the same time. As long as I get that fragment, I can use it to find another 11 pieces of 400 jade that correspond to the Holy Master. Once I gather these 12 fragments, I can resurrect my father in this world. His body was grotesque, looking extremely ferocious. Zero wants to use me, and I want to use him too. Marine, you guys are just in time. You idiots, go fight to the death. The devil dragon suddenly started laughing and wanted to run away, but Garp appeared directly in front of him and threw another punch. Don't think it's great to change your appearance, tell me all the things here obediently. But just as Garp was about to continue to seriously injure the monster-turned-devil dragon with this punch, the devil dragon's figure suddenly disappeared. He launched the teleportation after the delay, and the next time he reappeared, he was already hundreds of meters away from the original place. After a year of practice, he mainly used telekinesis and teleportation. Currently, it takes a 3-minute delay for him to activate teleportation, so he thought about using teleportation before fighting Garp. I forgot to tell you, this place is just right for a blood sacrifice. The devil dragon appeared in front of Garp's former military area, which seemed to be his destination, but at this time the devil dragon was panting slightly, and seemed to have consumed a lot of energy. Garp didn't expect the devil dragon to have a movement move like shaving, but he still couldn't escape his palm. He launched shaving several times in a row, and soon he was not far from the devil dragon. However, at this moment, he was shocked suddenly, because Garp saw the corpses of a large number of dead soldiers standing up slowly behind the devil dragon. Corpse, stand up. The next moment, those corpses clasped their hands together, as if they were praying devoutly. Their faces were covered with blood and scars, and their bodies were covered with tattered flesh and blood, but they were so sincere and filled with a strange sense of holiness. Most importantly, their upper body and lower body are clearly separated. They were divided into 2 straight rows. One row was full of normal upper body, praying with hands clasped together, while the other row was lower body down, with their legs up, thus splitting into 2 rows. These people lined up continuously, as if forming a passage that didn't know where to go. The end of the passage was full of despair and darkness, and the temperature seemed to drop several degrees directly. Garp couldn't help but stop. he looked carefully at the end of the body, and suddenly found a person appeared from there. Someone showed up. At the end of the darkness, in a hell-like world, a person appeared. No, since it was in hell, it should be a demon. The little devil dragon opened his hands and formed a cross with himself. Garp didn't interrupt the little devil dragon, but just watched him quietly as if he was performing this ritual. Then, surrounded by 2 rows of people, the demon at the end finally appeared. His whole body is covered with a layer of frost-like armor, and his hair is also pure white. There is a hole on his forehead, and there is a crystal hexagonal snowflake in the hole. He has 2 long swords that are also covered in ice and snow. In an instant, the whole city suddenly changed the sky. The weather, which was already close to December, became cooler. This coolness quickly turned into cold. The whole city suddenly dropped by more than 20 degrees, and everywhere appeared ice cubes. And the closer it is to him, the colder the temperature is. Garp feels like his body is about to freeze, but what makes him more concerned is from the endless killing intent and tyranny mixed in the ice and snow. This guy, be strong. Garp judged the enemy's strength in an instant, and at this moment, the monster that walked out from the end of the formation had also arrived in front of Garp. Thousand Shadow Snow. The snow demon with both hands is naturally the golden lion Shiki who ate the snow fruit and the weirdo cells. Although he is just a corpse at this moment, under the forcible dominance of Makima, he exploded into an explosion no less than his own. The power of time. Snow fruit and monster cells are enough to make up for Shiki's lion fruit and self-awareness in the past. At this moment, he swung his 2 swords, and it was the famous swords Sakura and Muku whose shapes were changed by ice and snow. All of a sudden, the wind stopped, and everything stagnated at this moment. Countless air blades were released in front of the 2 swords, just like thousands of snowflakes floating in the sky, flooding Garp's field of vision one after another. This is not the transformation of Haki in Shiki's body in the past. After eating the monster cells and transforming into a monster form, the Haki in Shiki's body has also evolved into a brand new power with the transformation of monsters. Although it is basically Haki, but the form is quite different. That's why Genichi asked Shiki to play the role of the demon. After all, the power released by Nine Tails and Tuyuro was not completely Haki. Quote! Garp Tong Kong was shocked, but it was too late for him to be shocked at this time, because if he hesitated one more step, he would lose. The enemy is one of the few strong people Garp has fought against for decades, so he can no longer be careless. Armament Haki was wrapped around the iron fist, and he punched out, fighting against the countless drifting snow, and suddenly an extreme cold began to spread from his body. Starting from Garp, half of the city behind him was frozen at this moment, even the marine who was assigning tasks and the people who were warming in the house. Yavin Library. And that was just an insignificant part of the ice and snow that Garp had to face, only heard a sound like a burst of air, and a huge circular ripple appeared in front of Garp's fist, and all the ice and snow in front of him shattered. The ice demon Shiki and Garp took a few steps back at the same time, and at this time the marine in the other direction seemed to have sensed the battle that broke out here, and was rushing to this place. Garp thought something bad and then yelled, "Idiot! Leave here!" But it was too late. Shiki heard the footsteps behind him, and the cold air emanating from his body became more intense, and then countless snow surged up like waves on the sea, and rushed towards the direction behind him. Seeing this, Garp rushed directly behind him, but just as he was guarding against the ice demon, the demon dragon spoke. "Okay, kill Ring, there's no need to fight them now." The demon dragon was sitting on top of a ruin, with one hand on his arched knee. He smiled evilly and said, "Let him go, so it will be fun in the future." Killing Ring. Is this the name of that ice demon? Garp thought in his heart that at this time he had already rushed to the front faster than the ice and snow. He punched out, and the armament Haki that was released directly blasted a huge gap in the snow wave, allowing the snowflakes that rushed over to flow from the surroundings. Disperse. The marine behind him didn't know what happened, but it was absolutely extraordinary to be able to clear the rushing snow wave. They were saved by Vice Admiral Garp. Garp didn't care what marine behind him was thinking, but looked at the ice and snow demon. There was a huge gap in strength between him and the demon dragon, but the demon dragon obediently stopped when he said he wanted to stop. Is this the helper the devil dragon is looking for? He used an army of thousands of people from the Jaltsburg kingdom as a blood sacrifice ceremony to call this demon out of hell, so he must have his own considerations. Then this ice and snow demon named Killing Ring should be a demon Xiaolong's father's men. After all, since he is known as a demon lord, it is not surprising that he has his own subordinates, but are the subordinates already so powerful? Although I don't know who left such a great gift for me, it's really great. The devil dragon opened his arms, and then the wind and snow danced beside him, wrapping him and sharing together. Before the final package was completed, the devil Xiaolong laughed and said, "You all have to work hard, hurry up and find Zero's stronghold, so that you can make a little contribution to me getting that piece of jade from the Four Souls." After the words fell, he was completely rolled up by the ice and snow, and the wind howled past, blowing away the snowflakes, but there was no longer any figure of the devil dragon and that Killing Ring. Killing Ring. This is definitely not the real name of the ice and snow demon, it should be something like a code name. After all, the information he got from the world government said that the real name of a demon is very important, and the Killing Ring should be something like Kong, Black Arm, Buddha, such a code name. Only, the name is still weird. Cat, Vice Admiral Garp, what should we do next? When Garp was thinking, a Marine colonel behind him was trembling in the freezing weather, and the melting ice and snow would make the weather was even colder, and he trembled a little when he spoke. What should we do? Garp crossed his arms and said confidently, "Go and inform Naval Headquarters, and ask them to send Sengoku over as well." Forget it, I'll say it later. Apart from wanting to mobilize troops, Garp also told the Marshal what he said to the Devil Dragon before. There is indeed a great secret here. The Black Order wants their Marine to die as a pawn, so they will just swallow this big gift and show it to the woman Makima. Garp took Marine and left here, and after they walked for about 10 minutes, an 8-year-old boy appeared here. Surprisingly, it was Bullet. After Bullet made the killing, he knew that he would be wanted and hunted down, but he never thought that it was Naval Headquarters who sent so many Marines here. When he was about to leave the city, he noticed the battle between the Devil Dragon and Garp, and got some information from their fighting dialogue. No wonder, she said she wanted to see the country from a whole new perspective. Bullet muttered to himself, "It turns out that there are such powerful people, and there are demons, jade fragments of the Four Souls, and so many things that I didn't know lurk in the shadows of this country." His mouth raised. "I want to use the current perspective to see the whole picture of this country." Bullet is still young, but in a few years, he will be able to compete with Rayleigh after joining the Roger Pirates, second only to Roger. Especially after Roger's death, Bullet, who had lost his target, made a fuss at sea, and even provoked Garp and Sengoku to team up to take out a buster call to arrest him in the prison of Impel, which is basically Golden Lion level treatment. However, Bullet at that time didn't even have Fruit Awakening. 37 years later, Bullet has displayed the strongest level of strength in the world. Such a talent, and knowing where he is, how could Genichi not notice it? Take it under your command now, and you will be able to reap huge rewards in the near future. He has such a powerful ability, if he is still worried that others will threaten him, it would be too useless. Genichi didn't know how timid he had to be afraid of others becoming stronger all day long when he had such a huge advantage. What's more, it is also good for him if others become stronger. The stronger they are, the higher the emotional value they provide. Why should he worry that others will become stronger and surpass him? No matter how powerful they are still limited by the laws of One Piece's world, and one day he will be able to break through the laws of this world with 100 million emotional points. A character card of tens of millions of levels is essentially a range from the world's top combat power to the strongest combat power. Therefore, if the strongest in the One Piece world is stronger, the upper limit of this range will also rise accordingly, and the 100 million level character card is a height that people in this world will never reach no matter how much they rise. He is only 8 years old now, but he already has a lot of strength. Zooming in on the sea definitely has the strength of hundreds of millions. After coming to this world, he had heard some stories about Kaido, who was also considered an invincible warrior when he was young, and Bullet was similar to or even stronger than Kaido. Kaido could only escape from the ship escorted by Marine, while Bullet directly reversed and destroyed the entire country by himself. Of course, when he was young, Kaido didn't have the blue dragon fruit, and Bullet ate the combined fruit, so this comparison is not completely accurate, it's just a glimpse of the leopard. Bullet has not eaten the combined fruit now. According to the original plot timeline, he will eat the combined fruit after 5 years of hunger, and he may not eat the same fruit in this world. But as long as he doesn't eat the completely useless devil fruit such as human fruit, common species, and common people, then he will still get that transcendent power. Facing such a useful and undeveloped powerhouse, how could Genichi let it go? Before they grew up, Mazima had already subconsciously dominated him with her own power. Bullet is also very strong now, but this strength is still not in the same dimension as the current Makima. At this moment, he saw the battle between Garp and the demon, and he was naturally very excited, because he seemed to have finally found his first goal. First grow up to the level of that strong and ugly Garp and killing ring, and then become the strongest in the world. What is the strongest in the world? He will wait until all the incidents in the Jultsburg country are settled, then go to the headquarters of the Black Order, and personally ask that woman what is real power and a new realm. The Bullet is now heading inland from this small border city that was just captured. Since the devil is in the country of Jultsburg, it must not be here, because this is a city he captured not long ago, and it is impossible for the devil to exist. After Bullet left, Garp also completed his communication with naval headquarters. Sora informed 5 elders of what happened here, which 5 elders requested. They need to know what happened in Jultsburg at the same time, and they can conduct remote micromanagement when necessary. Although Kong is the Marine Marshal, he has nothing to do with the supreme power of the 5 elders. At the same time, he urgently called Sengoku over and repeated what Garp had told him. Zephyr is in the New World, and one of Marine's top combat forces will always go to the New World to shock the pirates, while the remaining one, Sengoku, stays in the naval headquarters to prevent anyone on the Sabayati archipelago from harming the celestial dragons. At this moment, the two of them were talking about what happened in the Jultsburg country in the Marshal's office. We, Marine, killed the unknown powerhouse in the northern war zone of Jultsburg, the demon dragon, killing Ring, and Zero's believers. Sengoku couldn't help being dumbfounded when he heard Garp's words relayed by Sora. It can barely make up the quartet, so the country won't be destroyed just like that. This is what we naval headquarters will do our best to prevent, but at the same time, obtaining the jade fragments of the 4 souls and destroying or capturing the demons is a major task beyond the survival of a country. Marshal Kong said to Sengoku. The world government attaches great importance to this mission. When you go out, you will bring about 30,000 elite troops from the headquarters and other branches. Together with the local troops of the Upper Jultsburg Kingdom, there will be about 50,000 troops. Quote. Sengoku Tong Kong was startled. He never imagined that naval headquarters would be so willing to recruit 30,000 Marines just for such a task. Now is not the era of great pirates, and there are far fewer people who go to sea to become pirates than later generations. Most people in this era still want to be Marines for a living. Even such a number of 30,000 is very exaggerated, and it is not an ordinary Marine. If it can be turned into an elite, it is definitely not the quality of dawdling. I'm going too, but Marineford and Sabayati Archipelago should. You don't have to worry about this. Kong said in a deep voice, this is an order from the 5 elders, you don't need to have any psychological pressure, not to mention that even if you are gone, there is still this old man in naval headquarters. Admiral is the prerequisite for being a Marine Marshal. Kong was a powerful admiral at the beginning, and now he is a marshal, but it doesn't mean that he will neglect his combat ability. The transfer of the 30,000 Marines must not be hidden from the eyes of those pirates and some people. Sengoku thought a lot, and instead of taking the order to go immediately, he continued to Sora. I'm worried they're going to mess things up. It is to frighten them, so 30,000 elites are dispatched together. From today onwards, the Jultsburg Congress will implement martial law, and no one will be allowed to enter or go out. Sora said majestically and courageously. During this time, the Black Order will be operating outside Jultsburg to prevent pirates from invading. Sengoku, you should know what I mean. Understand. Of course I understand. Sengoku and the others knew from the very beginning that this was actually a game between naval headquarters and the Black Order. Otherwise, since the country of Jultsburg is now convinced that there is news of the devil, the Black Order should be dispatched as a matter of course. However, the world government has not issued such an order, and the Black Order itself has not invited. The Black Order wants to use naval headquarters as a pawn to consume the opponent's strength, because this incident made them feel extremely difficult, so they can only give up part of the benefits in exchange for naval headquarters sending troops. And the world government gave Makima this opportunity to exchange benefits, and the benefits Makima gave up before was just a promise to the world government to catch some monsters for experiments, which was definitely not enough. So now it is equivalent to the Black Order still owes the world government a lot of benefits. This is the mode of operation between them. The most important thing is that the world government wants to directly swallow the results of this time. This time, there must be a lot of things related to demons in the Jaltsburg country. If they can eat these harvests, then the world government will be able to take the initiative in dealing with demons. It is not necessary to rely entirely on Makima for all the information about the devil. At that time, the Black Order can only really be reduced to a vassal of the world government as it is in name. This is a gamble of the world government, and the gambling chip is naval headquarters. Although it is uncomfortable to be a chip in a political game, they have no room for resistance. Marine is the Marine of the world government, they can only obey orders from above, which is why few people in Marine have conqueror's haki. Even people like Sengoku have to hide their ideas. Even if many people inside have the qualifications of conqueror's haki, they cannot awaken in such an environment. This time they dispatched 2 admirals plus 30,000 troops, fully representing the determination of the world government. However, if the situation gets out of control or goes wild, an unprecedented war may break out in the Jaltsburg country, and the whole country may be destroyed by then. In this case, they can't move civilians away because the country is in lockdown, but for Sengoku, this is a necessary sacrifice. It is true that he cannot be strictly regarded as the running dog of celestial dragons, but his justice is the justice that rules the world, and in his concept of justice, he can give up part of it in order to get something. Sengoku himself is the one who can activate Buster Call in order to eliminate Ohara. To put it bluntly, don't expect the strong in this world to have many truly good people. It is naive to think that a certain good person will liberate the whole world. The root of this world is twisted from the beginning. If you want to change this world, you must first change the whole world to a human world. Sengoku didn't leave immediately, because he was still waiting for the branch's marine to transfer over. At that time, 50,000 people and hundreds of warships will be dispatched together. This will be a huge force that has never been seen on the Grand Line. I am afraid that just moving forward will scare some pirates out of their wits. In this era when the majesty of the world government was not yet bankrupt, Marine was recognized as the strongest overlord at sea. When they gathered their forces, the entire sea became extremely tense. An unusual aura floats in the sea, as if a war is about to break out. The Buster Call is only 5 vice admirals and 10 warships, and this time the troops are enough to launch 10 Buster Calls. Even Sengoku, who is the coach, has a heavy heart to lead such a strong force. The stronger they are, it proves that the enemy is fully capable of matching such a powerful threat, and that woman Makima, what will she do next? In a week's time, 30,000 Marines were assembled. Sengoku left from Marshal Kong, and then boarded a warship and headed towards Jaltsburg. Hundreds of warships are marching mightily, and ordinary pirates dare not even look at them. Pirates at sea are always paying attention to Marine's movements, while Garp in Jaltsburg has left the previous place, and now it has been renamed the border city of Ice Capital. In the past few days, he led the Marine to rescue the frozen people, but it seemed that the weather there had changed and became extremely cold. Garp had already determined that there were no clues of demons there. And instead of demons, he is chasing humans now. A human named Douglas Bullet. According to the information he got from the King of Jaltsburg, the only survivor of the ice and snow tragedy was found in this country, Douglas Bullet, who was only 8 years old but received the country's highest military honor medal. The ice and snow tragedy is the massacre that Bullet carried out on the northern border, and it also includes the blood sacrifice performed by the Devil Dragon later. When Garp took Marine to clean up the scene, even these elite Marines couldn't help but feel a kind of fear, and felt a shadow of the scene. This tragedy was even directly published in the newspaper, becoming a major news at sea. And Garp believes that Douglas Bullet is likely to be the culprit of the ice and snow tragedy, and this incident may be closely related to the devil. After all, the Devil Dragon used the blood sacrifice to perform a ritual of summoning the devil. So during this time, Garp has been following Bullet's trail, and has crossed several cities. And when the world situation is turbulent, Genichi has gained a lot of emotional value again in the past few days after a year of cultivation and redoing troubles. Positive sentiment value. Negative sentiment value. The positive emotion value has only increased by 200,000 in this year, and the negative emotion value has increased by more than 800,000, which is getting closer and closer to the goal of 10 million. The positive emotion value is really not easy to increase. This is because he has expelled many demons created by himself as Makima, and there are no million levels. And the negative emotion value has increased by 800,000 in the case of a million levels. It seems that he has done too many bad things. Genichi will draw the 4 soul jade fragments again. There are about 79 pieces of the 4 soul jade, which are combined to form a complete 4 soul jade. According to his card drawing mechanism, 100,000 positive emotion value is at most 5 fragments of 400 jade fragments, which means that the value of 400 jade is about 2 million positive emotional points. 2 million positive emotion points is more expensive than a superpower training box. According to the principle that item cards are more powerful than character cards with the same value, it is almost in line with its value. 4 Soul Jade Fragments 3. From the world of Inuyasha, it is a fragment produced after the complete 4 Soul Jade is shattered, which can increase the user's power. The more fragments, the more abilities you have. Jade can fulfill the wish of the user. When drawing a card, hold the jade fragment of the 4 souls in your hand, which can increase the probability of drawing the jade fragment of the 4 souls. He spent 100,000 positive emotion points and got 3 pieces of 4 soul jade fragments to lay out the next Jaltzberg kingdom. Bullet is about to be found. Being able to survive Marine's search for a few days, Bullet is already very good, but as long as he doesn't leave the country, he will be caught sooner or later, because there will be more and more Marines. And now, he could sense Garp getting closer to Bullet. With a thought in his mind, he had already issued an order to those superpowers in Jaltzberg. Bullet was sticking to a wall. At this moment, he was covered with a black robe covering his body. In the shadows outside the house, he watched the sailors walking back and forth silently. Marine is chasing him. This is what happened to him from the day before yesterday. He is not afraid of the army of the Jaltzberg country. After all, no one knows better than him how weak the army of this country is, and it would be vulnerable without him. But the Marines that Garp brought this time were all elites, with more than 5,000 people. Not to mention all of them were Grandmaster Marine 6 styles, at least 1 or 10 ordinary people would not have much problem. Bullet was discovered by a small team yesterday. Although they were all eliminated, they also deeply realized that their combat power was far beyond that of the army of this country. In particular, they are like tarsal maggots, just rub a little and they will come in a steady stream. The most deadly thing is that Vice Admiral, Bullet has seen the battle between Garp and Killing Ring. He knows very well that it is not within the reach of his current self, so he can only run desperately. Although he said that as long as he reported that he was related to the Marshal of the Black Order, the other party should not do anything to him, but Bullet just didn't want to say it. Just like Makima said, he must first see the truth of this country and then find her by himself. Before that, he had no ties to the Black Order, nor any ties to Makima. So he can only run. Fortunately, he learned a lot when he was in the army. Tracking and anti-tracking skills, which other young soldiers do not know, are firmly grasped by Bullet, and it is not difficult to get rid of these Marines. But today he always had an ominous premonition. No, this city cannot stay any longer. Bullet took a deep breath, secretly observed Marine who was searching the city, and ran to the rear. He ran in the shadow of the house. Combined with his black cloak and super fast speed, he successfully broke through many rounds of blockades. It's still a bit difficult to play cat and mouse with Marine in this country. After all, Marine can draw on the strength of the entire country, but this approach adds a challenge and excitement to Bullet's mind. Against a nation and Marine. Isn't this something that can make oneself stronger? Bullet ran and thought about this audacious thing. Maybe no other 8-year-old in this world could have such an idea. He has always been like this. After 37 years, he still wants to kill the 3 admirals and the 4 emperors. This is not a normal person's idea. He now regards this hunt as a challenge. He must avoid their pursuit, no matter what means he uses. Bullet has lived in the Jaltsburg country for 8 years, most of the time in the military barracks, so he is not very familiar with many cities, especially the inland cities that have not experienced wars, but he still knows the entrances and exits of the cities. Where is it? Soon. If he remembered correctly, there was an entrance and exit of the city ahead. As long as he escaped from the city, he would be able to start this cat and mouse game better. It's Douglas Bullet. Bullet was walking through the shadows, but suddenly heard a man's voice behind him, and then dozens of Marines looked over, and Bullet ran with all his strength. Since he was spotted, he didn't need to pretend. Stop him. Several Marines suddenly appeared in front of them, and they directly chose to shoot. The bullet hit him, but Bullet did not slow down his speed. He rushed past these Marines at a very fast speed, knocking their formation into pieces. At this time, he had rushed to the last street, and the city gate was in front of his eyes. He only needed to sprint forward for another 100 meters to break through the city. However, Bullet, who came to the outside world, shrank from his childhood. Because he saw a man walking in at the door in front of him, and that man was Vice Admiral Garp the Fist, the headquarters of Marine. Brat, I've been looking for you for a long time. Garp didn't seem to expect to see Bullet when he first entered the city. He was a little surprised at first, but he quickly grinned and punched him immediately. Don't get in the way, stinky sea soldier. Bullet felt bad when he saw Garp, but the gate was very close, and after rushing out, there was a forest, and further away, there were mountains. As long as he left the city, he would be free too much. Therefore, even if he knows that this person is a monster, he can't retreat. Anyway, there are not many places to return. Bullet's spirit was highly concentrated, and suddenly he seemed to break through even the shackles. A soul-shocking force erupted from his body, sweeping the distance from the front to the door in the blink of an eye. Marine, who was intercepting a lot, just passed out with foam at the mouth and rolled his eyes. This scene shocked even Garp. Conqueror's hockey. No wonder this kid has the ability to annihilate an army by himself. Even if the army's combat effectiveness is mediocre, Bullet is only 8 years old. With Conqueror's hockey, it can be explained. But to his surprise, Bullet didn't even use Conqueror's hockey once in that fight. A punch from Garp in front of him, Bullet's highly concentrated spirit seemed to spread a kind of other power, which made him see the trajectory of Garp's punch. When the punch was about to land on him, he jerked sideways and rolled his feet directly over Garp. He underestimated himself, Bullet thought. No matter what, he is only an 8-year-old child. How can an adult beat a child with all his strength? Bullet is aiming for that, except he underestimated Garp too. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.